Well, hello.
Oh, hello, hello.
How are you?
Good, good.
Why,
I like.
wow. Go ahead.
I'm just freezing.
Are you? Poor thing. Poor thing. Listen, I don't, okay. I always feel bad saying stuff because, I get that, like, it's not, legitimate cold, but it's cold for here. And when you're not used to it, it's been a long time, you kind of lose your mind. Like I'm wearing, a shirt and my whole arm is covered. Like a long sleeve. I've
Ooh,
never and and
just one
and
layer.
and no, I also have a hoodie on,
There you go.
but it zips, so it's not a pullover. And brace yourself. I'm wearing my fuzzy slippers.
Ooh, snap.
I feel like what's his name? Tracy Morgan from Saturday Night Live when he was Brian Fellows and he brought the tarantula on. And that is a fuzzy bug. That's how I feel about my. These are my fuzzy slippers. Ah,
That's funny.
right. Hey Heather, whatever. Hey Allie 79. How are you guys doing? We're all just kind of chilling here for a bit. Gonna wait. Hey Momo. Um, wow, Mo.
Are you working outside?
No, she works in a factory, but it's cold there. It's open. Know what I mean? Like it's got parts that are open. It's all like
But
cement
kind
and
of
stuff.
outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was
So
gonna say, well, if it's like a closed-in, sealed, heated building, I'd be complaining.
I think that I feel like it's not I feel like it's a closed in, but it's like a but it's cold in there because I know in the summertime it gets really hot for her because we talked about that before. Yes, Allie 79. This case was a little cray cray today.
And you haven't even watched the one guy yet.
No, no. I knew that he was going to testify. And yeah, that's what it is. She's got a here, look, I'll show you. Like you can't see. But I
That's
I
gonna
knew
show.
he was going to testify, okay? And I intentionally did not watch because I that's the one person that I wanted to watch. I mean also because, obviously what he was going to talk about. I wanted to I like to save a little bit, to watch for you guys with you guys just as as y'all are watching it too. But can we just take a moment to appreciate the boss women in the courtroom today?
Yeah.
Both defense attorneys, the assistant prosecutor, the medical examiner, the forensic anthropologist. Who else? The um, firearms expert. All women. So
Did you say the officers too?
the
Because there's been a lot of female officers in this
there,
case.
yes, there have been a lot of women in this case, and I was thoroughly and completely fascinated by the medical examiner's testimony today and the forensic anthropologist's testimony today,
Yeah.
particularly because they testified about the effects sharp objects have on skin. And as you know, I am soaking it all in because of the West Memphis 3 case. And I also was fascinated and very impressed with the meticulous and very thorough examination of everything, because those details make a difference in, determining who a potential suspect may or may not be, because first you got to know what happened before you can try to figure out who might have done it. You know what I mean? Yes, Mo.
Yeah.
Yes. The fingerprint. Yes. Footwear. All of them. I mean, I was just so impressed today. Um, I I think, Allie, that I I found her to be fascinating, and I feel like she enjoys her job, not so much probably, "Hey, Amelia. Hey, Molson man. Yeah, the these the YouTubes, whatever. I'm over them." But yeah, um, I think that she really thoroughly enjoys her job. Maybe not, probably not like the actual like testifying in court and everything, because that's kind of dry, but putting solving a puzzle, you know, and she just, to me, seemed like she just really enjoyed her job. I just thought she was excellent and fascinating. So before we really get into it, because we're going to play her testimony, and then if we still have time, we'll go over the defendant's friend. What was his name? Shmita Aaron something. Let me look. Hold on.
I've been calling him Smug Guy. So
We can't. He
so
has
now
a
we can't.
name. He has a name, you maniac.
It's completely left me now. Now he's just Smug Guy.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I'll poop. I have to open up a YouTube tab. Give me just a second and I'll tell you guys what it is. I mean, everything about today was riveting. But if we don't have time to cover the friend tonight, because the forensic anthropologist, or the forensic examiner, medical examiner, I'm sorry, the forensic pathologist, she is a medical examiner. Her testimony was so fascinating and amazing that I clicked the wrong thing. That I want to really like talk about that a lot. All right, hold on. His name is where did it go? Oh, here we go. Andrew Smith. Oh, I need to fix this while I'm paying attention to. I didn't put I put a comma instead of the apostrophe. Much better. Okay. So, just while I'm looking at that. So, there's just a couple of things that hey Seth, how are you? Hey Navigator, welcome back. Welcome back everybody. Hey Anita Butts. So glad everybody's here. Love to see all my familiars. Just a couple of things I wanted to go over really quick. So I got a comment on on the live that we did. I believe it was Sunday night. And I hope that the times that we joke in here are not offensive to anybody, or that we're trying to make light of the tragic situation and case that occurred here. I think that I just wanted people to know that I think most of you guys know that we all understand that this is a serious situation and that we're not making fun of what took place or anybody. But I also think that you guys know us well enough to know that there are times when we have to interject a little humor because it is so serious, but that doesn't mean that we
Right.
don't take it seriously or that we are clickbaiting or making fun or making light of a very tragic situation, because that's absolutely not what's going on here. So,
Yeah. Like when evidence is listed as a paper towel,
right.
and during the testimony they're asked, what was this evidence labeled paper towel?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
that's funny. I'm sorry. Like, that has nothing to do
yeah,
with anything else.
no, like there are times, look, when, bless her little heart, when Dulce grabbed the hand sanitizer thinking that it was water. It was a light moment, just in that split second, okay? We're all cognizant of why we're here and what we're talking about, but I don't know if I would say
It's
I
funnier because it reminds us of other people that we love that would do
exactly,
the same thing.
exactly, and I
It's
think
just,
that it gives the people that are testifying humanity, even though we all are cognizant and aware, obviously, that they are human beings testifying. But there is a disconnect sometimes when you're watching something on a screen, be it your TV screen, your computer screen, your phone screen, whatever, that keeps you, it almost distances you from the reality of the situation. And the truth is that there are times when a little levity happens and is needed, and it's not to make it wasn't you, Allie. It was directed at us on the panel. So, um, you got to lighten it up a little bit. And I wouldn't say that I got um bitched out. Like, I wouldn't put it that way. What I would say is that I
we got
think
eye rolled at.
I did. I think that the commenter, and I don't, I'm not offended by it. I just want to make sure that you guys know, and hopefully this person will come back and give us another chance. Listened at the very beginning where we were joking around, and I think if they'd listened a little further, maybe they would have heard the seriousness. But I just wanted to address that part. Now then, so I don't know. So most of you guys watched the video that I did on Pam Smart. And first, I would like to say I fully intended to premiere that video yesterday. I worked on that video yesterday from 7 o'clock in the morning until 9:30 at night. Um, because I had already done all of the research, right? Because that's how I roll. But then there were these, every time I would find or download one interview, another one would get suggested. And so I wanted to, include the stuff that was important. And what I really wanted, which I couldn't have gotten, thank you, Shmita, I really wanted the audio that was played in the courtroom of the conversations between Pamela Smart and Cecilia Pierce. And so I couldn't have done that. Thank you so much, Shmita. Hey, Cement Shoes. And then the other thing that I wanted, which is a little bit difficult to find, I really wanted Billy Flynn's testimony about specifically the God forgive me part, because I felt that that was like integral for you guys, to hear. I'm so glad you're back, Cement Shoes. Oh, I hope everything's going okay with your parents, but I'm so glad you're back. Shmita, can you help me? Can you help Cement Shoes? He wants the link to join the channel membership, and y'all know I don't know how to do that. Not from StreamYard. Hey, Callie. So I want to apologize. It took me longer than I intended for it to take. And then I had a little bit of slow internet issues, blah, blah, blah. But bottom line is, I wanted to say I'm sorry it was late. I promised it on Monday. Hey, Lupe. And I didn't get it to you guys. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was what I think of Pam Smart. Over the years, my opinion on her has changed, and and it has never quite made sense to me that the person who the people who were actually the ones that took his life, Greg's life, got less time and have become eligible for parole, have gotten paroled, and are living free. I also, but it's a conundrum for me because I recognize that, especially with Billy Flynn, he was very, very young. 15 is young, and I don't I think that the science tells us that that a human's brain, particularly their frontal lobe, which is what you use in your decision making, impulse, emotional, all that stuff, right? Long term consequences isn't developed fully until you're 25, and I think in boys it's even like 26 or 20. I think it's 25 for boys, I think 21 for girls. So there's that. I'm always hesitant to lock up a kid, and say that that's it. This is all they're ever going to be, right? This seems like they would be like you're throwing them away. However, I think that with Pam, what I will say about Pam is this. I think that, hey, Gladys, welcome. Molson Man, your mom needs prayers. I'll keep your mom in my prayers too. I think that with respect to Pam, I think that she needs the reason that she will likely never get a hearing, and that she will never get uh, the hearing for clemency, is because she has yet to take full accountability. And for whatever reason, whatever it is about her that stops her from um, just saying the truth, which is that she did um, aid and abet that she was the mastermind behind this. It wasn't that Billy didn't do what he did because he wanted to be with her and thought this was his own idea. I don't believe that. I believe she plotted. But I also recognize that some of the evidence, in particular those tapes, were flimsy evidence at best. And that a lot of what she was really convicted on was the fact that she had an affair, which back then was termed oh, thank you, electric chair detective, welcome to membership. I think that that it was termed an affair, and the truth is she was 22, he was 15. And I don't know what the laws were back then as far as the age of consent, but it was an illegal, likely illegal, and definitely inappropriate relationship. And I don't think that can be overlooked. It bothers me that they term it as an affair. That's too much of a distance in age. If the shoe were reversed, and it was a male that was 22 and the female was 15, there would be a different connotation. And I think we, hopefully have learned better now moving forward, and we recognize that boys can be victims too. Oh, Seth, I have a lot of thoughts on the Watts. So I think that I think that Pam was also very young when this occurred. 22 is young. And I don't know if the right answer or for the measure of justice is for her to never be free again, as if she would never, if she's not redeemable. But all right, that's about all oh yes, Molson Man. That's about all I have to say on that. I will definitely go back and watch the documentary. Hey, Anaphylaxis, how you doing? And oh yes, cement shoes. Hold on just a second. I forget how you do it.
I can't find it.
Well, you have to be on YouTube.
Like,
hold
yeah,
on a
I'm on
second.
it on here, but it pops up like a little bubble.
Hold on, let me figure it out. Just please to hold. I will fix it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, cement shoes. They've changed. I don't know. They've changed it. I've got learn more about memberships and report. I want to share.
Oops. Hold on. Crap. Oh, you're right. They have changed it.
It pops up different.
You know who we need for this?
Dr. B.
No. Well, yeah, she'd be
Oh,
great.
no.
But
yes.
Team Psych Ward. Yeah. Oh,
okay,
man.
let me.
There has to be a way to
I
share
don't know
it.
if you have to do it from studio or.
Well, let me see. I'll look in studio. Hold on. We definitely need to get to today's testimony because the trial has resumed. It is amazing. Hold on. Memberships. No. Ah, here we go. I found it.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Oh,
copy and paste.
Smart. Try that. I put it in StreamYard. Let me. Oh no! I had to do that, cement shoes, because the bots were coming in here, and nobody needs the bots.
They were coming in like crazy.
Yes.
But I was seeing them. They were dropping links in whatever the live trial channel is, and the one with all the numbers that you don't like. But you have
Channel
to be
3000.
Yeah. And
welcome, Kelly. Welcome, cement shoes.
They were in there too with the subscribers on. So
I don't know.
Those are some dedicated bots.
Dedicated. All right. So, are you ready to share your screen after I play the intro, babe?
Yeah, I'm just bringing all that up now. Sure.
All right. So I'm going to play the intro, and then we're going to get into it.
Okay. Are you muted?
Yes. Thank you guys for joining memberships. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm always muted. I always forget to unmute. Okay. Shmita, I'm finna add your share screen to the screen. And remember now, you're going to be in charge of the pausing.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Wait, you don't sound ready. I'm worried
Okay, I
about
see what
those
you
bot
mean.
cement. You see what I'm talking about? It's like
I see what you're
Skynet.
talking about. Okay. Yeah, ooh,
Cement
that's weird.
shoes.
Okay.
You
Let me do
ready?
that over.
You tell me when you're ready.
2 seconds.
I'm trying to tell y'all. Y'all
You
watch
don't
out
do
for
well
those
under.
bots. We're about to have Skynet up here. Skynet.
Okay.
Chazzle dazzle.
And
All I
then
have to, you don't have to do anything after you share your
I need to
screen.
share system audio.
Yes.
Okay, and I want to switch it to
Tab.
window.
Yeah, or window, whatever.
Okay.
All right. And then and when you have everything ready to go, tell me and I'll add it to the stream and then you push play.
Okay, I think I've got it.
All right, I'm adding you to the why are you on here twice? Oh, because that's why. All right, there we go. All right. Success. All we got to do is have you play it, babe. Now we're good.
Okay. Stream. Okay. I'm hitting play. I want to play now. Okay.
There's no sound. Did you make sure to share your audio?
The microphone, so
Yeah.
There it goes. There it goes.
Oh my God.
But it's Shmita, if you turn your mic off, we can't hear you. We can't hear the audio. So what you have to do is use earbuds. Now there's nothing. I don't know what you did. Oh, there it is. Okay. So use earbuds, but don't mute yourself until you have the earbuds in. Make sure you're muting the right thing because we can't hear.
Okay.
Thank you, Amelia. I think it's important to recognize how many women are highly featured prominently in this case and, as expert witnesses. Okay, so this is going to be, we still can't hear it, Shmita. This is Dr. Hold on, I have to look at it. Agnieszka Rogalaska. I'm going to probably not get that name right, but she is the medical examiner. Now, the interesting thing about her, Allie, there is still no, Shmita, there's still no sound, babe. I don't know what you're doing. Where is this? Is this just on your, okay. Is this just on your computer or do you have it somewhere uploaded? No. Do you have it on Canva?
No.
Okay. I don't.
No. I have it on my computer
Mm-hmm.
and 84% uploaded to YouTube. That's it.
Okay.
I hit it. It had a little box to share. Okay, so do I need to? Where do I need to use headphones? On my phone or on the computer?
On your computer.
On my computer.
This might be why. She's talking
Yeah,
right
because
now,
I'm on.
but we don't hear you because you're muted. Whichever you is on the computer, unmute that, stick the headphones in,
Okay,
and turn your
hold
mic all the
on.
way down.
1 second.
And make sure that you have the audio at the bottom here turned up. I can't. Make sure you have the sound on what you're playing. Know what I mean? At the bottom on the settings. All right, you have it turned up. All right, that's perfect. Yeah, but we cannot hear. So wow, cement shoes. That's
Okay.
crazy.
Okay, so now let's try. Let's try this.
All right.
It's not playing. What the? I don't understand. Okay, so that's showing up there.
Ask to do so.
Okay.
There you go.
Can you hear it?
In a position
Yeah.
where you believe you need to wear your mask is that.
Yay.
And as long as you're close to the microphone so we can all hear your voice, that will be adequate. I'll ask
Much
you to
better.
please stand, and my clerk will administer the oath.
Okay, and now I can still. Can you hear it if I mute?
No, you can't mute this.
Please
There
state
you
okay.
go.
Your
You can mute your
name and
phone, but
spell
not
both.
your computer.
Yes. Good morning.
There we go.
My
Success.
name is Agnieszka.
Okay, I'm
Rogalska.
not going to touch
That's spelled
anything.
A, G
Yeah.
as in Gregory, N as in Nancy, I, E as in Ernest, S as in Sam, Z as in Zebra, K as in Catherine, A as in Apple, last name Rogalska, R.
You guys are
O,
behind.
G
Like
as in
there's a
Gregory,
20-second
A,
delay between what
L,
I can see
S
in
as in
StreamYard
Sam, A
and
as
what
in
you guys
Catherine,
can see
A as in
on
Apple.
YouTube. Thank you guys so much for
How
bearing
are you?
with us while we
I
get
am
through
the
these
Chief Medical
technical
Examiner of Dane
difficulties.
County.
Told you you could do it, Shmita.
I'm the least technical person.
Can you turn it up just a little bit though?
Maybe.
Or maybe I need to turn me up. I am all the way up.
It does. No objection.
It is received.
Doctor, I just briefly want to go through some of your education.
There you go. That's perfect.
Okay.
Where did you attend medical school?
I attended medical school in Poland at the Kato Marcinkowski University of Medical Sciences.
And after finishing your medical degree in Poland, what sort of residency did you participate in?
I completed a 4-year residency
She's a
in
babe. We
anatomic
can probably go ahead and skip through
pathology
this
at
part
the
of it.
University of Illinois at Chicago.
Where did you work after that?
An autopsy is performed or some form of examination, if needed, to document the cause of death and to make it available for purposes of the court.
And are you board certified in any areas?
But
Little
in
bit more,
anatomic
babe.
and physical, and actually some
All right, now here we go. This is where we want to
our
be.
investigators in the course of their work on this case.
In association with this case, did you put together a presentation based on your report?
I did.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 370. Also, the USB of it 369. These are the Exhibit 370. Tell me if that is the presentation.
It appears to be, yes.
This type of statement will have exhibits 368 through 370 in evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
They are received.
And as we've done in this trial, would you please compare, this is an example copy that the jury will get. Please compare your 370 to a jury copy.
Yes.
As the witness is going through that process, ladies and gentlemen, I'll advise you that once again, it'll be necessary in this case for the state to utilize exhibits so that you understand the testimony and the evidence. That'll be done through the booklet format. Once again, the pages are numbered in the bottom right-hand corner as before, and your obligation as before is to at least observe the exhibits one by one. To the extent you do so is up to your own decision-making as jurors. Thank you.
Sorry.
And actually, as before, I'll remind you to only turn pages in the book as the exhibit is being shown during the testimony, although you can go backwards if you wish at any point without losing your place, I hope.
He has to say that for people like me, because I'd like fan right through it, like, ooh, what's all in here?
And those appear to be exact copies.
They do.
And I'm going to pass out Exhibit 370.
What is going on with the ADA? Lady, get by your mic. We can barely hear you.
Right?
I've left Exhibit 368, your medical report up there. If you need to refer to it at any time, that's fine, but the court would ask that you just note it for the record.
Thank you.
I think we have an extra.
Fabulous. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Doctor, could you please turn to slide 2 in your presentation?
I'm going to
On
curse
July
that tissue
14th of
box.
2021, were you called out to a location in Roxbury, DNR land?
Oh,
I
Shmita,
was.
can you push pause real quick? Because there's one little thing I want to say before we get started on this. Sorry.
That's
Okay, so one thing that I want to point out with this specific medical examiner, as you guys know, there was already a medical examiner's testimony. That medical examiner participated in the autopsy of Bart Halderson. This medical examiner was actually on scene where she was called out for Krista Halderson's body, but she knows both cases. Does that make sense? That's right? Did I explain that right?
I
Shmita?
think so.
Okay. That's all I wanted to say. Okay, push play.
Well,
Human
go.
remains or suspected human remains have been found in this area. It's our policy in the office to respond to a potential homicide or potential human remains because we had already found other
Thank you,
human
Mo.
remains that were confirmed as human. The doctor myself responded to this scene as well rather than just an investigator initially.
And what is the jury looking at on slide 2?
On slide 2, the jury is just looking at a photograph of the scene in the parkway. This is part of the trail through which we went in order to get to those remains.
Let's turn to slide 3. What is the jury looking at with slide 3?
Here you're looking again at the scene. We've moved a little bit further away from the parking lot. I believe that in the left hand of the photograph is part of the river or the river bed. And we are walking across this to go further into an open area of the parkway.
And how would you describe this
Ooh.
area in general? Was it
I like that. Yes, I will
remote?
definitely have to check that out.
At the time that
You
I was
guys?
there weren't a lot of people around other than sheriff's deputies. There was a parking lot and a small area of, I'm not sure if they were camper units or small cabins off of the parking lot. I'm not sure if those were residences or just temporary camping sites, but a handful of domestic kind of units. There was the parking lot, and the rest of it is, as you see in the photographs, essentially just forest, trees, and prairie.
All right. And turning to slide 4, how would you describe slide 4?
Hey, the analyst, welcome.
Slide 4 is again on our way to the scene. This is where the forest opens up into a kind of prairie. One photograph wouldn't capture the entirety of it, but this is just the pathway that we were taking to get to the remains. You can see that this is an open field at this point.
It's a little bit hard to tell from slide 4, but how high was the grass or the weeds in that prairie area?
I think
I
the
don't
total
recall
is
the
3
exact
weeks,
measurement,
Wilson, man, but we took off last
I would
week, so.
think that they're probably calf length. They weren't knee length, and there was a path already built, so we weren't struggling.
Okay. Slide 5.
On slide 5, we've moved through a portion of the prairie, and we're now edging into the area where the remains were found. You can almost see a few of the bushes or a large tree in the middle of the photograph that seem to be a little bit closer to the prairie. We're actually going to be moving behind that area, which is where the remains were found.
And slide 6, could you describe that slide?
In slide 6, we're actually coming to the edge of that prairie. We've walked past that large tree that you saw in slide 5.
You're welcome,
And,
Wilson, man. That's why I get paid the
portion
big
of that
bucks.
large tree on the left side of the photograph. In the middle of the photograph, you can't see from this distance, but for orientation purposes, this is where the remains are found.
Could you please describe picture 7 for the jury?
Yes. In picture 7, we've moved a little bit closer to that area where the remains are found. You'll note that there are red and blue circles on this photograph, and there are notes on the right side of this presentation, so you can orient yourself. Within the right circle, underneath the tree on the left side of the photograph, you can see this is where we'll find the remains of the left thigh, a left foot, and a right leg. And identified in the blue circle, under a smaller bush a little further away is the left knee, identified here as left leg.
In your identification, you have left thigh, comma, left foot, comma, right leg. Was the thigh dismembered from the foot, or the foot dismembered from the thigh?
Yes, Amelia,
the-
after, can you push pause real quick?
Ultimately, I
Ally,
believe to be the
please.
left thigh that joins that.
Sorry. So after the state rests its case in chief, the defense then presents their evidence. Once they rest, the state gets an opportunity to put on any additional rebuttal witnesses. They rest. Then the closing arguments happen on both sides. Then, after all of that's done, the jury gets further instructions. Then the jury is adjourned and they deliberate, and it takes however long it takes from then. I don't know if I can do a live on the Watts. What happened, Shmita? Why'd you take away your stuff?
Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to play with it because I can't mute my mic. There has to be a way, like, other people do it, so now I'm
I
just
think-
pressing buttons.
I think rather than just pressing buttons, it'd probably be better just to be on one device. I don't know. Because when I switch to the phone, I mute my mic on the laptop and take myself out of the stream.
Yeah, I'm only on the laptop.
Oh, okay. So they do, well, she's going to really get into it. And I think that if the defense, when the prosecution did their opening, they said over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. But then we had that break, and that was what, like a week? And then, but if they said that, I don't know if they're talking about for their case or if they're talking about for the case entirely, because they would also be privy to getting the defense's witness list. So I'm just going to say it's going to be like I'm just going to say that the total is going to be 3 weeks, and this would be day 8 of testimony. So there you go. All right, hit it,
Okay.
Shmita.
Okay, I think I figured it out.
Tree on the left side of the photograph.
Okay.
In the middle of the photograph, you can't see from this distance, but for orientation purposes, this is where the remains are found.
Okay. Could you please describe picture 7 for the jury?
Yes. In picture 7, we've moved a little bit closer to that area where the remains are found. You'll note that there are red and blue circles on this photograph, and there are notes on the right side of this presentation, so you can orient yourself. Within the right circle, underneath the tree on the left side of the photograph, you can see this is where we'll find the remains of the left thigh, a left foot,
I don't know
and
the
a right
makeup
leg.
of the jury Molson man, and when
Identified in
I
the blue
looked, I
circle
couldn't find
under
any
a smaller
of
bush a little
the
further away
jury selection,
is the
so
left
I don't know.
knee, identified here as
Guess
left
we'll
leg.
find out when this is all over.
In your identification, you have left thigh, comma, left foot, comma, right leg. Was the thigh dismembered from the foot, or the foot dismembered from the thigh?
Yes, what ultimately I believe to be the left thigh that joins that, the left knee that joins the left thigh and that left leg was identified in the area here circled in blue. So the right leg is intact from the thigh down. The left leg was fragmented. A portion was found in one area, the knee, the thigh, and the foot were found with the right leg.
And let's turn to slide 8. How would you describe slide 8 for the jury?
Slide 8 is now a close-up photograph of what we're seeing in the underbrush. This is
You're doing great, Shmita. Don't
still
be
far enough
sorry.
away that you can't identify it, but as you were walking into the scene, you would see a fragment of dried brown parchment-like skin. And these remains correspond to the left thigh, the left foot, and the right leg, and they're identified with a yellow circle on your notes.
And as you're approaching these body parts, what if anything, are you looking to sort of take in and observe?
From the perspective of a forensic pathologist, what I'm looking for initially are how many remains there are. First of all, I want to make sure I'm not screwing anything up in the pathway for those people who are qualified to look at the tracks and the scene, the law enforcement officers. But my main concern looking at the remains is to see if they are covered, are they buried, do they appear to be intact, do they even appear to be human remains, is there insect activity, is there animal activity? These are the things that I'm thinking about. Most of it I won't know until I get really close, but that's what I'm thinking about as I'm approaching this kind of scene.
And how would you describe slide 9?
So slide 9 is a photograph from the same position where I took the photograph in slide 8 from. This gives you some perspective as to the distance between the two piles of remains. So identified in the red circle is actually the left knee, identified here as left thigh, but it's actually a portion of the left thigh and that left knee and the left leg, that missing portion between the thigh and the foot that we saw in the other, identified in the other picture. So you can see that there's some distance between these two piles of remains. Here, this knee is actually visible, it's open, it's between some very thin, I believe they're called, they're not twigs, they're just saplings. Basically in a relatively open area in comparison to the rest.
And could you tell from your observations of being there whether or not it was purposely placed in a separate area or if it was later on by wildlife or something else? Is that something you could determine?
Well, purposely placed in the sense that these fragments had no reason to be there of their own accord. So
Yes, me
the
too,
distance
Seth. That's why I
between them
like
would not
this
be
case.
accounted by any grade in the terrain, so it's not like it rolled downhill. There was a slight a grade to it, but there was so much brush and shrubbery that it would not have, it would have stopped. There was no animal activity that I could discern on either the soft tissue or the bone. I would defer that to the anthropologist if there is any animal activity that I didn't recognize. There was no definitive explanation for the difference in the distance between them.
Okay. And what do you observe on picture 10?
So on picture 10, you're actually seeing my right foot, unfortunately in the field of the photograph, but in the center of the photograph, what you can see are these remains that were identified as the right leg, left thigh, and left foot. Now we're looking at them with a bird's eye view on top as opposed to through the brush. The brush hasn't been cleared, so this is exactly how these remains were found in the open. You can see that the skin is really dried and brown. It's called parchment-like. It's starting to mummify. You can see all of the gray little fragments that look like little pellets or rice grains. Those are actually maggots that are essentially starting to work on decomposing the body. And you can see that there's just grass around the area without any major coverage. There's nothing on top of these remains.
And doctor, I know.
Oh, you're welcome, Seth. I'm glad you guys are here. I think it's good to branch out into some of this case is just fascinating from a forensic
or safety
standpoint.
precautions you take when approaching human remains.
Anytime we approach a scene, we want to make sure that we're not tracking any evidence or DNA into the field. We're going to be handling this material, so it's even more important for us to be protected. We usually don a Tyvek suit, which is a full, essentially a bunny suit or footed pajamas, if you like, with a hood. We'll wear masks and gloves and eye protection. This is to keep our DNA or our person from being deposited on the remains or a body if we're looking at a homicide scene of a different kind.
And could you describe slide 11, please?
So in slide 11,
I'm
now we're
starting to
looking at a
think this
close-up view of the left knee that
Kleenex
was
box
found a
was
little bit
placed there
further away.
intentionally.
You can see
I think
again
so,
that
'cause it
gray
covers
discoloration and some of those white fragments that are the maggots that are part of the decomposition
Shmita
process and
snapped
the
a
insect
snap.
activity. You can see a fragment of exposed bone looking straight at the camera. And you can see that the skin here is a little bit different color. It is starting to putrefy a little bit. It is starting to dry a little bit, but it isn't as parchment-like or as mummified as the other remains.
And at some point, are these remains collected and taken back to your offices?
Yes, they are.
How are those remains collected?
We collected them in separate body bags just to keep the fragments separated until we can officially identify them. And just by looking at them with the naked eye like this, you can't really tell if they're from the same person. So we collected them as separate pieces. We placed them into a body bag. That body bag is zipped closed.
I don't either,
The remains are actually
Navigator. I have
deflected
no
closed, placed
idea
into what's known as an
how
evidence
somebody
sheet.
does
So it's
this.
a clean white sheet that covers those remains. Anything that would fall off would go into that evidence sheet. Then we place that into a white body bag, close it. We tie it with a zip tie with a numbered tag, and then we document that tag number and the time it was sealed as well as by whom, and that is tracked throughout the rest of the autopsy and examinations that follow.
All right, and could you please describe what you observe in slide 12?
So in slide number 12, we've moved forward to the 16th of July. We are now in the autopsy suite. The remains have been placed on a blue sheet for the purpose of documentation and photographs. What we're looking at specifically on slide number 12 is a photograph of the right leg. In the corner, you'll see an L-shaped ruler. That's there for a couple of purposes. One, that gray ruler on the side actually has our medical examiner case number. That tells you the case number, and that gray fragmented ruler is also about 2 inches long, so that if you want to do some measurements for your own purposes, you know that's about how big that is. So here we can see the parchment-like dried, partially mummified right lower extremity, the right leg. You can see a fragment of skin that's attached to the side of that foot. You can see a fragment of the thigh in the upper corner, and we'll talk about that in a different slide.
And in examining the foot, were you able to estimate a shoe size?
I was able to get a measurement of the length of that foot, and it's 7.5 inches from toe to heel. Using just a Google search to find a scale for measuring shoe sizes, we came up with a shoe size of about 8. However, it must be remembered that the foot is partially mummified and desiccated. So this is not a definitive measurement. I can say that it's 7.5 inches from the longest toe to the heel.
Shmita, can you push pause
Please
for just
describe
a
what
sec?
the jury is looking at in slide 13, please.
So I think that coolest reviews, I think what happened is due to the torso debacle, I do not believe that the jurors will be some stuff they do, like there's more evidence presented and then they do go to slides, but for these, I think they agreed not to show them on the projector just in case. And yes, so Allie, to answer your question, let me highlight that. What happens is the witness is holding this booklet, right? Both defense attorneys get a booklet. The prosecution has a booklet, and each one of the jurors gets the same booklet. So, but Chandler would be likely get his booklet would be in the hands of his defense attorney, and I would imagine that I thought about this today because whenever this testimony was taking place, I was taking my shower. And so I was listening to it and I was thinking about other trials that I've watched, more like behind the scenes where you hear the defense attorney giving their client directions. Most defense attorneys will have their client avoid they talk to them a lot about not reacting. So even when they would be to get to a part of the trial like this, where they're looking at these pictures, the jurors are, "Hey, Dave G, long time no see." The jurors would be looking for a reaction. It's going to be difficult to see one because he's masked up. But by this point, likely they have taught him not to react because that's what they want. Although in this situation, it probably would be beneficial for him to react, but it could also be construed as guilt or remorse. Guilt because of remorse. You know what I'm saying? Like he is remorseful because he feels guilty rather than grief. And so they tell them not to react, which was a long way to go to say that, but that's what we're at. So, okay, Shmita, hit it.
In slide 13, you're looking at the cut end of the skin of the right leg. What I'm showing here is that the
Maybe should we
thigh,
skip forward a little till she gets to the actual
has relatively clean cuts along.
she takes the remains back to the autopsy suite, as she called it.
Cause something like that.
Oh no.
There are
I don't know what happened, Seth. I'm so sorry. The YouTube's has been very sometime lately, and I just can't believe it.
but over on the inside, everything looks gray. That's because it's essentially putrefying and it
Okay,
changes to that
let's
gray homogeneous.
Is it after this?
Oh, yeah, babe.
Okay.
Oh, Shmita, we're at 95%. What time of the day did you start this upload, babe?
Oh,
How long has it been uploading?
4.
Okay, we're gonna and I after this gets done, we're gonna have to come up with a different system. I uploaded the friend's testimony, which is an hour and 18 minutes and 14 seconds, and it took me 25 minutes.
Oh my God.
We're gonna have to total because first I had to download it, then I had to send it to the drive, download it there, add your opener to it, right? Your intro, render it, and then upload it to the tubes. 20, 25 minutes in total. And I also ate dinner in between. So there you go. We got to work on this. It does sound fancy the way she describes it. Oh, wait, what does this do? Wonder if I hit this, what'll happen?
Again, fitting them.
Oh, I can
like
overrule
puzzle
you.
pieces, demonstrating that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, go back just a little. Oh, I can even rewind it a little bit. Watch that.
On them that are character, just putting together the bones of the left
No,
thigh
you're too
and the
far.
left relatively smooth.
I'm helping you.
However, you can also see identified by the green arrows.
Well, there you
that
go.
there
Now you
appear
can
to be
pause
kind of
it.
steps
Yeah.
in the bone. Again, this is
Look at us
consistent
just
with a sharp
learning
force
tonight.
injury.
And you
That
guys are
can
all
be
here for it.
sawing, or some sort of cutting, but again, we have movement and we have a ridge. It's not just cut clean through. At the very end, it almost looks as if there's a possibility that it was broken. Again, I would defer that to the forensic anthropologist about the very details of it. But from my perspective, I can see that the bone is being cut. And at some point, the cuts are irregular and they're making little steps. And also, there may be some breakage of the bone as well towards the end.
I had to throw that in there. It's like, how
Turning to
could I
slide
not
19.
use overruled?
Why
We're
did you
watching
take
a
picture
trial.
19?
Like, I had to do it.
Could you repeat that?
Sure. What is picture 9? I said, why did you take picture 19, or what does it represent?
I'm sorry, doctor. I
So
was
picture
rude and
19
interrupted.
is that same left foot. Now we're looking at it from the side. We're looking at the outside of the ankle. And you can see,
I forgot to say one thing before I forget. So keeping in mind where this was found, right? I think we missed the part of it where she testified, because it's at the very beginning and we were kind of having, whatever. But anyway, I want you the medical examiner testified that there was no animal activity, and I think that's very important when you're thinking of the timeline of this situation, because it would seem to me that based on just what we've heard so far with the insect activity present, that those remains were not out there for very long before they were discovered. Okay, that's all I had to say. I'm pushing play.
identified by the red arrows, the same sort of skin tags that we saw on the thigh. Again, we're looking at incisions, a cut that's being made around the ankle or the distal leg portion. And anytime that there's a movement in that sharp tool, either in or out or forwards and backwards, we're seeing a small skin tag being made. And we see that continued here on the foot as well.
And doctor, this is a small point, but there appear to be some twigs kind of stuck to that foot. Could you tell us about that?
I think those are just fragments from the scene. Again, if you remember, it was laid in that field, and that had some small short grasses, some dried grasses there. This was the best photograph that I had of these edges, but it's probably one of the earlier photographs before we removed some of the debris that was attached.
Sure.
I'm telling you guys, sometimes I'm smart. Sometimes all the synapses fire in just the right order, and I have I have some smarts come out of my mouth. Not right now as I'm explaining it, but other times. Hey, Paula Walking, how are you? Oh, you're welcome. You're very, very welcome. I let me drop Shmita's link real quick, because she has a lot of the testimony and stuff from the other days uploaded, and so anything that you've missed or we don't go over today, or during our lives, because obviously we can't be live for 8 hours, or maybe we could, but anyway, that she has all that stuff too. So if you miss anything, or if there's like testimony that you want to hear, yes, exactly, nobody has time for that. All right, I busted out the Wii today.
Did you get the
What
Mario
is slide?
Karts?
Did I get the what?
The Mario Karts?
Of course I have. Yeah, but I was playing regular Mario. That's the one I like better.
20 show us.
Slide 20
Oh,
again
good,
is showing
good,
the reflection of the
Paula.
skin. We tried to get as much off to look at the muscle underneath. Again, we're seeing that gray change associated with putrefaction, but we're not seeing any hemorrhage or any discoloration to indicate that there was blood flow at the time these injuries were incurred.
Again, suggesting it was postmortem.
Correct.
Turning to slide 21. What does slide 21 show you?
In slide 21, we're looking at the left thigh. The white arrows in the middle are identifying the types of holes that we see from maggot activity. We see this very commonly in mummified remains, and you can actually see them in museum exhibits if you're ever looking at a mummy. These are these nice small round holes that a maggot makes in order to get into the tissue or to get back out.
Okay.
Just as a side note, oh, go ahead, Shmita. What were you going to say?
No, you go on your segment.
No, you go first. I always do
Well,
the talking.
My observation here is these remains have not been out there for very long, is what we've determined with no
Mhm.
animal activity.
Correct.
And they're mentioning all the maggot holes.
Yes.
There was nothing like that on Shanann Watt's autopsy. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Interesting.
Now, what would you like to say?
Well, that got my brain going in a different direction. Crap.
I don't, it's just.
That's an astute observation. Now, what I'm curious about as a follow-up to that is, were they there and not noted? Because that can happen.
That's very possible, because I always say that the autopsy isn't in its entirety. We're told it is, but like, I don't know.
Well,
Just
hey,
something I'm
Melissa
thinking.
Jade, how's it going? I think that I'm going to have to think about that for a moment, because that has really stymied me. And now at this point, it has pushed whatever something or other I was about to say completely out of my brain. And maybe I will remember it at some point. So we might want to just go ahead and continue to push play. Yes.
In contrast to that, in the red arrows on the sides, again, we're looking at incisions or sharp force injuries on the skin. You can see the cuts are very broad and very jagged. You'll see them on both sides of the picture, and also both sides of the cut ends of the thigh, excuse me. So you can see cut ends on the distal portion as well as the proximal portion. Again, sharp incisions with skin tags. Inside the red circle, you're looking at the bone, the femur, and you can see that it also has a partially smooth edge, but now it's also make it a jagged point, suggesting that we have both sharp and blunt force injuries involved.
Turning to slide 22. What is the jury observing in slide 22?
In slide 22, we're again looking at the left thigh, but now we're looking at a close-up of the bone. And the yellow arrow is showing us a nice smooth edge. Again, this is where the bone is being cut. But the red arrows are showing that we have jagged ends in part of the cortex, or the kind of circular rim, the hard part of the bone. And that is indicative of a blunt force injury, meaning not something that's done with a knife, but it could be either done with a different tool or it could be broken.
What does picture 23 show us?
In picture 23, we're looking straight down into that bone. Normally, when you would look down at bone, you would see a nice circular rim, which is the hard cortex, and inside is the medulla, the soft part where blood cells are made. But within that red circle inside of the marrow, what you actually see a fragment of bone. So this indicates that not only was this bone cut, as we've already seen in other photographs, but it confirms the fact that there was blunt trauma as well, because now a broken fragment of bone is actually tightly jammed into the marrow.
All right, turning to slide 24. What are we observing on slide 24?
On slide 24, we're looking at a very close-up view of the thigh and the bones from the left extremity. The green arrow is again showing us those nice, relatively smooth cut edges. They do have some irregularity to it, but in comparison to those identified by the red arrow, where we have peaks and valleys up and down, the green arrow is showing us sharp force injuries. The red arrows are showing us fragmented bone, so likely blunt force trauma or breakage of the bone. And in the middle of the photograph, in the white box, you can see that you have linear cuts on the bone. So these linear incisions are essentially sharp force injuries or cuts that are made on the bone, most likely as the soft tissue or the skin is being cut.
Turning to picture 25. What does picture 25 illustrate?
So in picture 25, again, we've reflected all of the soft tissue of the bone. So you can see the bone in the middle, and on both sides of the bone is slightly gray, yellow, putrefied muscle and soft tissue. Again, there's no hemorrhage, there's no darkening areas that are consistent with a previous hemorrhage. So there's no evidence of blood flow at the time that these injuries were incurred.
I remembered. So, one thing we're going to need to do, Shmita, back to what you had said, is do some research on bodies left to the open versus buried.
I
to
was thinking
see
that too,
a
because there wouldn't be
comparison.
flies in the dirt,
Well, yeah, typically you wouldn't
right?
see that. I don't know. I
So
have to
maybe
look it
that's
up.
why there was no maggot
That
holes.
could
I don't know.
that could be. That could be. But what I also wanted you guys to pay attention to is as she is describing the specific parts that she is examining, listen to how she describes the tissue, because that's important, because not all of the tissue is at the same level of what's the word I'm looking for here? Starts with a D. On the tip of my tongue. Decomp. And that's important.
Turning to slide 26. Could you please describe slide 26?
Yes. On slide 26, now we're looking at the left knee that was recovered separately. The white arrows are pointing toward the femur. So that's the leg part, the thigh part. And the double arrows in yellow are showing the tibia and the fibula. So those are the bones of the leg.
Turning to slide 27. What do we observe there?
Here on slide 27, we are looking at the distal or the far portion of the leg where the tibia and fibula are. What you're seeing identified by the white arrows is the edge of the skin, and you can see a very nice, smooth cut.
Well, yeah, Amelia, not just that, obvious. So I think that all of the experts that we've even heard from so far, plus today, all agree that the dismemberment took place post-mortem. But what I'm talking about is the level of decomposition in the various tissues, specifically with Krista Halderson in her legs. Not all of the tissue that was recovered, like the foot tissue or the leg or the knee versus the thigh. For lack of a better explanation, to me, what it sounds like is some of that is because some parts were more out in the open than other parts, but also, and I think I can't remember if it's her, the anthropologist that testifies to this, but that they were stored first, kept cold.
Cut all the way around. There are a few areas where it's jagged with those triangular skin tags or maybe some steps in the skin, but for the most part, it's a smooth cut all the way on this side.
Doctors, the cuts, some of them have been really smooth, some of them have been more jagged. What would account for that?
Many different things would account for it. It could be the result of using different tools. It could be the result of somebody being tired. It could be the result of different condition of the tissue. As essentially they're indicators of motion. So it basically means that the sharp object is moving either.
Yes, this is today. We're gonna listen to her testimony. She is the medical examiner. She is the medical examiner that was called to the scene out at the lake for Krista Halderson's remains recovery. And so she's testifying to all of that business and what happened with all of that. But I just find her testimony completely fascinating, which is why I haven't interrupted as much as I do other people. But my real fascination was the forensic anthropologist.
Back and forth or in and out in a stab wound. Every time we have one of those irregularities, you know that the knife has come in a different direction, or the glass or whatever sharp implement you're using. In cases where we're seeing such vast differences, it could be either because of a difference in the condition of the tissue. We know that this left knee, for example, isn't as decomposed as the left thigh, the left foot, and the right leg. If it's
I knew you
mummified,
would
the
be
skin
right
be
there
tougher
with
and
me,
there might
Teresa,
require
just
different force.
fascinated.
And again, if a different tool is being used, that could account for it as well.
And why would some of the body parts be more mummified than others? What could account for that?
Again, different conditions under which they were either stored or they were placed outside. A more shaded area is going to provide cooler air, maybe more moist air. That kind of tissue, if it's cooler, may not putrefy as quickly and it may not mummify. You need relatively dry, hot air for the mummification process to occur. There are also other factors that could be happening before they are, in this case, before they were placed into the park. Portions may have been kept refrigerated or frozen, or they may have been kept in a cooler place. There are many factors that go into it, so I can't say just one, but if I could tell you if one is consistent.
Okay, thank you. Turning to slide 28. What is
And I love
significant
how
about
she
slide
doesn't
28?
testify out of her scope. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't
On
explain
slide 28, we're looking at
what she can't explain.
the left knee again, and we're looking at the femur. So in the big white square in the middle, you can see again those kind of linear horizontal cuts on the bone. Those can be as a result of either cutting away the soft tissue or initial attempts at cuts that just didn't go all the way through. The red arrows are identifying the jagged edges of the bone. Again, this is indicative of blunt trauma, a fracture or a blow with a heavy object.
Turning to slide 29.
Okay. I did want to say something about this. To me, what it sounds like she is describing with respect to the knee is that the reason it is apart from the rest, so the knee with the tendons and all that attach, it keeps it makes your leg it's the middle of your leg, right? You have your thigh, then the knee would be the middle, and then the tibia and the fibula, they're the bottom, right? There's your shin, those are your leg bones, right? Okay. So what it sounds like to me is the reason that the knee is separate is not because it was removed via cutting, but it suffered blunt trauma like something other than dismemberment. Like standing on one side and pulling on the other. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, this was rough, what he did.
The Addams Family stretcher.
No, babe, like, okay, you know how you can, if you hit it just right, if you hit the knee just right, you can dislocate somebody's knee. If you hit it even more right, you can break it. And that's, I think, what he did, rather than try to use some sort of cutting instrument. I think that yes, criminality, no. Like, I think, no, blunt force trauma, like hitting something. Blunt force. Well, but the axe has the knife part element to it, more like a bat.
Okay.
Like when hey, Tony, like when the mob talks about breaking kneecaps, but it's broken from the outside, from the backside. So so the back of your knee was, a
Yeah.
lot of things can do that. But yeah, when I heard that, I almost got soap in my eye because I was like, wait, what? Yeah.
I got soap in my eye the other day when you were singing, "That's not my foot." My foot.
I'm sorry. But yeah. Yeah, I think that's what he did. Once you go away, Chazzle Dazzle, I'm going to write you and ask you questions, just so you know.
What is slide 20?
Oh, I forgot to tell you guys too. We're pretty sure we busted the defense attorneys watching YouTube.
We're not pretty sure. I sent you a screenshot
Is
of
that
the defense attorney's screen with YouTube on it.
I could okay, look, I didn't have my glasses on, so I was just taking your word for it, but I didn't want to make sure I didn't know it was 100. I feel like we should find these defense attorneys and give
Can I
them
share it?
email the channel so we can get them up here after the trial of it. Yes, criminality. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Sorry, babe. I'm that like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
9
Wouldn't it be funny if they were watching us?
demonstrate.
So slide 29 is demonstrating, again, that right knee, but now we're looking at it kind of upside down. So what we're looking at are the tibia and the fibula. So those would normally be the bottom parts of your leg, but we've turned them upside down for photographs.
We're doing that one next, criminality. So bust out the spreadsheets and let me know when you're available. Soon as this trial's over, babe.
And just like we've seen in the other tissue, we're seeing both the smooth edge as it's cut. You can see that it's almost a flat end, right? And that's demonstrated by the red arrows. But the green arrow is showing you a step or an irregularity, in the way that that bone is cut. So we're seeing some evidence of a sharp force that's not clean all the way through, but kind of jagged cuts on top of the bone. And again, I'm using my left hand to make kind of a sawing motion to demonstrate the movement.
Thank you.
I think, Anita,
What is
that
shown
they
in
do
slide 30?
actually cross-examine her. Brace yourself, though.
In slide 30, now we have reflected the skin from that knee. You can see that this looks very different from the remainder of the tissue. On the outside, it wasn't as parchment-like, it wasn't as dried, and you can also see here that the fat has stayed yellow as it would, and that the muscle is pink. So this bone and muscle tissue and soft tissue is better preserved than that right leg, left thigh, and left foot. Again, there's no hemorrhage here either. Even though we have very good soft tissue, we don't have a lot of putrefaction and no artifact. There's absolutely no hemorrhage here.
And slide 31. What are we observing in slide 31?
In slide 31, we have removed all of the soft tissue from the bone. And at this point, before we involve the anthropologist and before the bones are prepared for that examination, I am just putting together the bones of the left thigh and the left knee. You can see, identified by the L-shaped ruler, you can actually see the linear, irregular kind of line across the bone. That is where the end of the left thigh and the end of the femur of the knee are put back together, and that they approximate very nicely. They come right back together like pieces of a puzzle.
So does that suggest that they were at one point the full leg?
To me, yes, this indicates that these pieces of bone are from the same leg.
And turning to your last slide, what does slide 32 show us?
Slide 32 is that same process. Remove the bone from the distal portion or the entire knee, and I put that left foot and the left leg back together. You can see that the large bone right in the front of the photograph has a bit of a gap. That's just a piece of tissue that's gone, and of that bone that's gone and not going to be recovered, probably because of the tool that was used to separate them. But those pieces do come together. And to the left of that, you can see the fibula, and you can see how those two pieces of bone come nicely together.
Again, fitting them like puzzle pieces, demonstrating that they're of the same leg.
Yes.
Now, doctor, you have a name on your report of who you believed these legs belonged to, Krista Halderson. Is that correct?
Correct.
How did you come to identify that these legs belonged to Krista Halderson?
We collected DNA samples from the fragments of tissue. The tissue from the left knee that was pink was still viable for DNA analysis. And the crime laboratory made a comparison and identified the remains as that of Krista R. Halderson.
And doctor, in doing your autopsy of these legs, were you able to determine a cause of death?
Not specifically, no.
What, if anything, were you able to report?
Well, I do know that there are sharp force injuries, and I do
Shmita,
see that there are
I'm
blunt
not in
force
the house
injuries.
and I'm not at the
But
laptop. Can you push pause
Again,
for
as
me,
we've already
please?
mentioned,
Okay, let me highlight this question real
Yes,
quick.
ma'am.
Oh, whoops. I highlighted the wrong one. Okay. The left leg, I believe, is in it's the thigh, the knee.
They show the pictures in the other testimony. Of
Oh,
where,
do
like,
they?
yeah, so in the
Yeah, it's
next
4.
one. Yes.
Yeah, 4. Sorry, Shmita. I'm sorry. I was thinking out loud and it came out of my mouth. Sorry. I apologize. That was very
Awesome.
4. 4 pieces.
Aw.
Because 4 pieces. There's that number again. All we need now. Oh, we do have a red car in this case, don't we? The
Mhm.
girlfriend, doesn't she drive a red car?
I don't remember.
I think she does. I actually think that she drives a red car. Now we have a red car. Oh boy. Oh
Chazzle dazzle just
boy.
can't.
CCTV, security cam footage. Yikes, Chazzle Dazzle. You're in big trouble, mister. All right, hit it, sis.
these are post-mortem. So I don't actually know what injury caused the death of Krista Halderson. But I believe that she died as a result of some violence, a non-natural death. And the cause of death is described as homicidal violence.
And that would be the manner of death.
The manner of death is homicide.
But again, you don't know the specifics. She could have been shot, strangled. You have no information to determine.
That's correct. We don't have anything other than the legs to make that determination.
No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Hey, well, wait for the cross-examination.
Doctor.
Could y'all
Good
give
morning.
your girl a like?
Just a couple
please?
questions for you. We had looked at page 15, if you don't mind turning to page 15. I believe it was the knee, and there was a defect that you spent some time talking about. As far as that defect goes, I believe you mentioned that it could be some type of stabbing, correct?
Sharp force injury, yep.
And just to confirm, that defect happened post-mortem as well? Yes?
Correct. If it is a stab wound or an incision, it is post-mortem as well.
Now, bringing your attention to the cause of death.
Hey,
You
Rita.
had mentioned that you can't specify what exactly the cause of death is, correct?
Correct.
And when we're talking about cause of death, we're talking about, as Attorney Raymond said, gunshot wounds, stabbing, strangling, something along those lines, correct?
Correct.
Now, when we're talking about the manner of death being homicide, how is it that you determined that it was a homicide?
It's the totality of the events. It's the fact that we have a pair of legs that are separated from the head, a torso, and its related extremities. The fact that these remains have been dismembered from an individual post-mortem, that there is an attempt to hide these remains. And it's also in conjunction with what we know about the death of Bart Halderson. We believe that this all occurred at relatively the same time under the same circumstances.
So it sounds like you're using a lot of different factors other than just the legs in and of themselves to determine that homicide was a manner of death.
Yes, although I will say that I have no explanation for why these two legs would be found in a state park other in the course of a natural death. There's no way that I could call this anything natural. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so let me see if I can kind of understand that. The fact that the legs were found where they were is something that you use to determine a homicide versus a natural death.
It's part of what we use to determine the manner as a homicide, yes.
And I guess that ultimately is the issue. You just have a pair of legs. You can't really determine much from the legs in and of itself.
Well, I can determine that the dismemberment occurred. They didn't fall off. They were actually taken off the body. I can determine that we have different types of injuries. We have sharp force injuries and blunt force injuries. I can also determine that this happened post-mortem. So there are a few things that I can determine, but you're correct that there's a limit to what I can say.
Oh, that was some snark, Miss Ma'am.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Any redirect?
One follow-up question. So, doctor, is it fair to say that your determination is based on the totality of all of the evidence that you know at the time and not just a decision made in a vacuum?
That's correct.
All right, thank you. Nothing further.
I actually have a clarification question, Doctor, and it has to do with both the use of the term and the description of movement that you made reference sawing. You're testifying about that movement or that style of motion and not about whatever implement was used at the time of that motion. Is that correct?
That is correct. As a forensic pathologist, my ability to determine tool marks is limited. However, we know forensically that when we see those kinds of skin tags, that is usually the result of a motion of a sharp object, either a sawing or a stabbing motion.
Thank you. Any questions in a follow-up to my question
No, Your Honor.
from
No.
defense?
No, thank you.
May this witness be excused
She may.
and released?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'll take the exhibits that are there with you.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So I do want to address this defense, or as many of you guys feel lack thereof. Give me just a second, though. I want to hear Shmita's thoughts first before I tell mine. I want to hear what you think, Shmita.
I don't know. There's not really, I'm just blown away. I just think it's so fast. Like, it just, I don't know. I think because I watched ahead and I saw the next one
Yeah.
where they show all the photos, it really like puts it all into perspective and how they describe the saw, and it's nuts. Like, I never, like, it makes sense that they can do it, but I never even thought about this level of like investigation. I don't know.
Isn't it interesting to see how you would think, right, that every investigation would be handled in the same way, but it's just not so. I mean, there are obvious protocols, right? But the level of detail that was done in this one is fascinating. So let me answer this one. Okay, yes, the judge is allowed to do that. And it wasn't intended to help the prosecution. What it's intended to do is to reduce the amount of errors in a trial that a defendant can raise. Because she used the term sawing, not sawing motion, not back and forth motion, not in and out motion. The reason that could come up later potentially is because they introduce the things that were found out at the farm that were saws. So what he's trying to clarify is she is describing a motion, not a tool. So yes, he is allowed to do that, and actually, that was a good thing that he did do, because um, because she was not asked by either side what type of instrument would be used, could possibly have been used to make those injuries on the legs. She can't. He had to clarify that she's not saying that an actual saw was used. She's describing the back and forth motion as sawing, not a saw. Does that make sense? So now, as for the defense, um, I think what they're attempting to prove, or to prove here, and again, I don't feel like we're going to find out what their defense is going to be through cross examination. I feel, hey, nonstop mom, I feel that that we're not going to get. I think that's evident. We're not going to get any type of idea as to their plan from their cross examination, or lack thereof, if you were. Um, so I think what were attempting to do with that question, which in my opinion, frankly, was poorly worded. They could have gotten more out of her had they worded that question a little bit differently, but that's neither here nor there. I think what they're attempting to do is, what's going to happen next is they cannot, if you cannot say how a person died, what is it specifically that caused their death, like a gunshot? The reason they're bringing that up is to create reasonable doubt. We talked about this the other night. They don't have bullet holes in a body in the way that they do with Bart. So there would be no way for a specific gun to be linked to that body. And I think that that's what they're trying to raise in this. I think that's what they're saying, that and we talked about this. If, let's say they do, all they've got to do is get one juror, right, to say, okay, I just don't see how they connected him to his mother's death. It's not, it's what the evidence that was put on during trial shows. Obviously, as human beings, we could make the connection that it's more than likely he did it, but you can't use that. You have to use what evidence was presented. So if you don't have a cause of death, a specific cause of death, right, because a gun was used on the father, one could argue that you cannot prove that he is the person who is guilty of the homicide of Krista, but they could find him not guilty of the murder and still find him guilty of the hiding of the corpse and the mutilation of a corpse. It wouldn't change anything if they did, as far as what kind of sentence he would get, because it's very likely they're going to be able to they are going to connect him with his father's death, which would give him a life sentence, most likely, right? So that's why they asked it in that way, is because that's going to be their reasonable doubt. There's nothing that ties him to her murder. At best, what they have him tied to is her dismemberment. So that's, you know, all they could really do at this point. So we're definitely going to have to see. I think that what we should do now, because the friend's testimony, hold on, let me look and see how long it is. Give me just a sec. I think it's like, what, an hour and 14 minutes? This is what I think we should do.
No, it's about 35 for just the friend.
Oh, just the friend?
Just the friend. Or there is other, like, there's
Who?
Art Halderson's, like, childhood friend.
No, I don't want,
That
they
we-
want, I think
You
everybody
want the-
wants the gun, which, if his testimony, because the total on that, thing is an hour and 18 minutes. Obviously, there's somebody else on there then, because it's hard to tell from just looking at the description. But anyway, what we could do now is I think we do have time where we could go over, if you guys want to, the friend, or what we could do is go live earlier tomorrow, say 8 o'clock, at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and do the forensic anthropologist, because her testimony is long. And then after she's done presenting that, then after she's done testifying, then we could do the friend and get his testimony. But it's up to you guys what you want to do. I know it's getting late for, I mean, tonight's a work night, and I know it's getting late for people. So I just, you know, I don't know what everybody
Unless
wants
they
to
want
do.
my voice in their ear when they're trying to go to sleep.
Yeah. Or mine.
Sorry, I
We're
don't have Dr. B's
definitely,
voice.
yeah, neither do I. We're definitely going to watch the friend, Momo. It's just talking about when we're going to do it. Now, this is an interesting question. They could, but why would they? I mean, wait, I read that backwards. I mean, yeah, they could.
But that's like the same thing with the Watts case. Everyone thinks, well, if they could have raised reasonable doubt over the children, he could be out of prison. No. Like, Shanann didn't kill herself. The baby didn't kill himself. They didn't dispose of themselves. And he's the one that hindered the investigation, lying to the authorities. Like, no, he would still get.
Right. No, Shmita, you're exactly right. Like I said, let's say they were, that they raised enough reasonable doubt in this case for the jury to find Chandler not guilty on the first degree murder charge of Krista, his mother. Okay. That could happen. They could find him not guilty of that and find him guilty of the other counts, which are hiding a body, mutilation of a corpse, and lying about a missing person or kidnapped person. Okay. They could. And then they could find him guilty on all of the counts with respect to his father, Bart Halderson. And it would, as far as his sentence goes, it would change nothing.
None. What was that other girl out of Wisconsin? He went to prison with Chris briefly. And she was kidnapped for a while. Not like recently, but within the last couple of years. But
I don't remember.
They were actually really smart in it, because they had enough on him that because he shot, yeah, Jake Peterson. Perfect, thank you. They had enough on him with the murders and the kidnapping and stuff
Mhm.
that they didn't even charge him for any of the abuse that she went through whenever she was with him, because
Mhm.
then it would all be in a testimony, it would all be public knowledge, and they didn't need it. They didn't need to put that out there. And I don't know, I just thought that was really smart.
They do that a lot. It happens a lot.
Why I'm
So,
mentioning that now, I don't know, but it's they don't always need everything, I guess.
well, what you ideally like to do as a prosecutor is go with the strongest case you have. So in a situation where, okay, I'll give you an example. And I'm not going to argue guilt or innocence. I'm just arguing the way that the prosecution laid out the case. The Atlanta child murders. The person that was charged and subsequently convicted in that case was not charged with every single murder. He was charged with the murders that they had in the prosecution's opinion, the strongest forensic evidence tying him to the bodies. Meaning, if I'm trying to remember correctly. I think that there were carpet fibers that tied him to um, two or three of the victims, and then there was the German Shepherd dog hair. So when they have a situation like that, I'll give you an even better example. Eileen Warnos. Eileen was not charged with every single homicide that they prosecuted, I should say, for every single homicide that they think that she committed. They charged her with the ones that they had the strongest case on. So, however, in this situation, I think what's coming with a forensic anthropologist is going to be different. And I think this is why they brought Krista in. The truth of the matter is they really didn't they didn't have to bring okay, Shmita. They did not have to bring the charges of Krista Halderson in. The strongest case really is that of Bart Halderson. However, I think with this situation, obviously, the family deserves and they want justice. And Bart and Krista both deserve and want justice. So I think that that's why they did. So okay. Um, in this situation, that yes, sometimes what they do is they will do lesser included charges. So, like, take Casey Anthony, for example. The only charge that the jury was allowed to consider was first degree murder. And the jurors even talked after the verdict was rendered and said if that they had been allowed to consider lesser included charges, then they would have been able to find her guilty, but they could not, based on the evidence presented in court, they could not convict her of the murder charge, right? So, yes, a lot of times what they will do is give a person a lesser included charge. And so in this situation, they did. The lesser included charges with that Chandler is facing are the mutilation of a corpse, the hiding of a corpse, and the lying to investigators on a kidnapped or missing person. So those would be considered the lesser included charges. Um, So, like, I off the top of my head, I think with Chris Watts, the lesser included charges had to do with disposing. So those would be the lesser included charges, right? So like I said, if the defense was somehow able to raise enough reasonable doubt, right, where they can't convict him or find him guilty of the murder of Krista Halderson, then they want to do it as a separate episode, babe. But look at you being so prepared. If they I know, babe. I'm proud of you though, but we're almost at the
Did you
2-hour
decide this
mark.
when I went to get my
No, babe,
charger?
I was reading the comments.
Oh,
So yeah, so they could technically find him not guilty of the murder of Krista Halderson, but could find him guilty of the lesser included charges with respect to Krista Halderson. Okay, then if they don't have to, well, here's the thing, we'll get to that, Kelly. So then with respect to Balt Halderson, at so far from the testimony, what I've watched with you guys, they have a strong case for guilt with Bart, right? And they also have an excellent case against him for the lesser included charges. So let's say the opposite happens. Let's say the jury feels that yes, they connected him by the evidence presented to the actual death of Bart Halderson, but did not find him guilty on the lesser included charges. So, all in all, he's found guilty of the murder of Bart Halderson, and the lesser included charges on Krista Halderson. He would still get life imprisonment plus whatever penalties those carry, right? Whatever time those carry. So they don't. This is the thing, though, Kelly. The defense doesn't have to present another suspect. They don't have to give an alternative suspect. They don't have to give an alternative theory. The burden of proof is on the case or the prosecution. They're the ones that charged him. They're the ones that indicted him, and they're the ones bringing him to trial. They have to prove that he did all of the things that are listed in the charges, and then the lesser included offenses. So they don't have to say who killed Krista Halderson. They don't have to do that. The state has to prove that he did. And to be fair, honestly, with respect to Krista Halderson, I don't know what else they have at this point, right? But they have not connected him to anything with respect to her other than the hiding of the body, the dismemberment, and the lying. But just because he's guilty of all three of those doesn't mean that that the jury then, based on the evidence, you can use common sense, but you have to also base your common sense on the evidence presented. So that's why the defense attorney asked what she asked about the legs, and made it a point to say she could have made a stronger point. I'm not going to lie, but that's what her point was, is that you don't know how she died, right? So how can you say that he's the one that did it? Does that make sense? All they need is one juror to have reasonable doubt. That's it. That's all they want. That's all they have to have. And to be fair, it doesn't really change anything if they don't find him guilty of Krista's, murder. And that's sad. But that's the way, that's how it is. And if the jurors are doing their jobs correctly, that they're going to weigh the evidence that was presented and not try to reach their own conclusions based on anything other than the friend Sheena, based on anything inferences.
Sheena?
I called you Schmida.
Oh, I thought you said Sheena. I was like, who is that? Did you want to go back?
Exactly, and that's the thing about well, I'm if it's I mean, it's like it's 2 hours, it's not that bad. I mean, we're at the 2-hour mark. Yes, Kelly, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct, and that's the thing when you have a system with human beings in it. The truth of the matter is the way that you're supposed to, uh, if you're a juror in a case like this, you're only supposed to consider the evidence as it was presented in court. That was presented in court. You can't, you know what I mean? So, like, I don't know what they could bring to the table either at this point, only because usually you can get an idea based on a couple of things. The opening statement being number one, and their cross exam, but or cross examination, but they haven't really done one like we're used to. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's just do the friend because Schmid is not going to leave me alone until we do it. So
Because
let's
he
do it.
says stuff that I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
I've had to sit quiet with it all day.
I know you have, and God love you for it too, because I said Schmida, like my voice
Don't
gets
talk about
tired
it.
of-
I haven't watched it yet.
Well, I just, yeah.
But he has a couple interesting
Does he?
statements. That
All
he,
right. Well, let me then. Okay, let me mute my mic. Let me add my phone, and let me go have a cigarette, and we will do this.
There you go. Okay.
All right. I cannot believe that you. Okay, here's the thing, Rita. I'm actually not. I'm actually really rebellious, and I actually like snub my nose at a lot of things. I don't like to be told what to do. I don't like to be bossed around, and mainly I like to just do my own thing, but I also let other people do theirs. But when it comes to stuff like this, for whatever reason, I can take everything that makes Jen, the rebel scum that I am, right? And be incredibly analytical and no emotion at all, and do follow the letter of the jury instructions. I don't know why I do it. Well, you don't have, Mo needs a timeout. That's 2 exclamation points when one were only needed, and I feel that's more like scolding. So I won't let you talk about it to me, not like in life. Okay, y'all are acting like I have sequestered you and I have access to all of your devices and all of the things, and I'm refusing to let you speak about it generally. It's just to me, you know?
Yeah, but we
I
want to
know.
hear your reaction.
Which I appreciate, and I love you guys for it. This is the only time that I'm not rebellious, because I actually believe in our justice system, and I really do believe that being a juror is an incredible responsibility and that you should take it seriously. This is the only time you'll ever like see me be like, well, no. All right, let me have my phone, but I can still hear, so hit it.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and then spell it out so everyone who's taking notes just knows how it's spelled?
Andrew Smith,
And how do you spell it?
Alpha, November, Delta, Romeo, Echo, Whiskey.
Okay. And your last name, Smith, common spelling?
Sierra, Mike, India, Tango, Hotel.
And how old are you, sir?
22, sir.
And what area of the country do you live in?
Kansas, sir.
Do you know someone by the name of Chandler Halderson?
Yes, sir.
How did you meet Chandler Halderson?
Playing video games while I was stationed in Germany, sir.
And do you see Mr. Halderson in the courtroom here today?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Before
What's going to
you
happen
ask-
here is the judge is going to give some instructions, and then I'm going to ask you where he is. So wait one second.
I would ask everyone who's not in the jury box to lower.
What
Sorry,
happened?
I was muted. Sorry.
Oh. Okay.
This is Chandler's friend who provided the gun to Chandler.
Also, I need to
Whatever.
address this question. Just please pause for one more second, ma'am. May address this. Oh, how did I? Oops, this one. No. Where is Mo? Oh, it's way up here. Okay. I suggest you guys create a separate chat and name it apropos, as in crap Jen won't let us talk about, or G Jen's mean, and talk about it there.
Don't talk about the friend. Don't talk about the 911 call.
I just can't. Don't take. They're trying to taint the jury, is what's happening. You guys, you don't understand what they try to do to me. All right, hit it, Shamita. I'm ready.
Masks for just a short moment so that all faces are observed by the witness. You can replace your masks. Thank you.
Did you see Mr. Halderson here in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me where he's sitting and kind of what he's wearing?
Over on the right, sir, in a suit, sir.
I'd ask the.
Is he at a table?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
I'll ask the
Record
record
will-
reflect identification.
It will reflect that identification.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about, I guess, that time period in which you met Mr. Halderson. You said you were stationed over in Germany.
Yes, sir.
Were you in the military?
Yes, sir.
What branch?
Army, sir.
And where in Germany were you stationed?
Ansbach, sir.
And whereabout is that?
Middle of BFE, sir.
And how did you meet someone who lived here in Wisconsin while you were in Germany?
Playing video games on Arma 3 server, sir.
And what type of video games were you playing?
Mostly FPS, sir.
What type of game is that?
So, a go around, complete objectives, and capture certain scenarios, sir.
Okay. Is it a shooting game?
Yes, sir.
And some people on the jury maybe play video games, other people don't. If you had to explain to someone how you end up meeting someone playing a video game, could you describe how that happens?
So you'll connect to a server, and then you can type in voice channels or type in voice channels. You can type in text channels, meet people. You can die by other players and interact through them like that by just typing them, or if you guys get in a voice altercation at safe zones where some players can't necessarily hurt each other.
Okay. And so how about did you end up meeting Chandler? Was he just in one of these games and you talked to him?
Well, you
Yes, sir.
haven't sold me on wanting to play these games, even though I
Did you
know
talk
what
to him
they
about
are.
Yes, sir.
Did you develop a
I
friendship?
thought you were
Yes,
going to
sir.
say that we
About
haven't
what
sold you
time
on
was
this
this? What
testimony.
year was that?
No.
I want to say it was 2019 or 2018. It was shortly after my son was born, sir.
Okay. And how often, if you just had to give us a general overview, how often would you play video games with Chandler online?
Almost every day, sir.
Okay. And would you be talking and communicating during that time period?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At some point, you start to learn a lot about Chandler, I would imagine.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any idea of, at the time, kind of what he was doing in life, school, work, anything like that?
As far as I knew, he was going to college in one of the towns somewhere in Wisconsin and doing all that.
Okay. At some point, you end up coming back to the United States.
Yes, sir.
Military service was over?
Something like that, sir.
Okay. At any point while you were in the military toward the end of your service, did you suffer an injury yourself?
Yes, sir. I was in Germany, and I was coming off the 50 cal range, and a German totaled our Humvee, and I got in a Humvee wreck. So I slammed my forehead on a hard side wall of the vehicle, unfortunately. So
You had a head injury.
essentially, sir.
Unfortunately.
I messed up, sir. My brains
Were
is
you talking to
scrambled,
Mr.
sir.
Anderson around this time, between that head injury and when you
I've
came
lost
back
my
to-
ability
Yes,
to
sir.
sweat.
When you came back to the United States, what state did you move to or live in?
Kansas, sir.
Is that your home?
For now.
Okay. Had you ever spent much time in Wisconsin before?
No, sir.
Okay. After you moved back to Wisconsin or to the United States, did your frequency of playing video games with Mr. Halderson, did it increase, decrease, stay the same?
Increase, sir. I was in the same time zone.
And would
Me
you
too,
continue to play
cement
the same types
shoes.
of games?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there any specific weapons that Mr. Halderson liked when he was playing these games?
It really depended on what we were playing. On Tarkov, or Escape from Tarkov is what's the game was called. it would range for realistically to whatever we could find inside the video game, because not everything was necessarily easily to collect, but the SKS was certainly a weapon that was fun to use in Tarkov and was something that I had grown interest in as well.
And around this time, after you came back to the United States, did you learn anything more about where Mr. Halderson was in life? Had jobs changed, school changed, or was things the same for him?
Essentially, what I understood was he was still going to college, and he at some point had gone back to Windsor, or I think it's called Windsor, and had started working for some company installing solar panels or working on contracts for solar panels.
Okay. At any point in your discussions with Mr. Halderson, did he get another job, or was that the last job you knew him having?
As far as I know, that was it, sir.
Okay. At some point, you decided to come visit Chandler.
Yes, sir.
Whenabouts was that?
Sometime during, I think it was June, sir.
Of this past year?
Yes.
In generally, just how did that come about? Did he ask you to come up? Did you decide to come up?
So it was one of those last-minute decisions I was able to make, sir. So my wife had ended up going to visit family in Ohio, and she was going to be gone for 2 weeks. So I went and looked at how many points I had. I was able to take off work, and I went and called off work that day so I could come up and have a weekend with driving up there and then spending 2 days with him, sir.
Had you ever been to Wisconsin before?
No, sir.
Okay. It's a long drive up here?
No shit.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's okay. So everyone slips up. I'm showing you what's been marked in this case as exhibit.
All right, I kind of like this guy, you guys.
392.
No.
Don't tell me
No.
no, Mo. You're not. You don't know me. Look, anybody
See how
that
he got a
says
laugh from that? So now he
Yes.
thinks that everybody enjoys it. So just wait.
but I do enjoy it.
Yeah, but just wait. You won't.
How do you know?
Because you're my best friend, and I know.
Okay. Okay.
Is that you and Chandler up here?
Yes, sir.
All right. And I'll just move 392 into evidence. I'll just show it to the jury if that's okay, Judge.
Any objection?
No
to it?
objection.
It's received. You may publish.
Where'd you stay when you were up here with Mr. Halderson?
In their family home in the basement, sir.
Did you meet his parents?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No couch
When you
fort.
were up here, what kind of things did you do for fun? Where'd you go?
So we went swimming at some river at some point, and then we went and drove around to the different department stores, and we're looking at weapons and all that. So we went to Cabela's. We went to, I want to say it was Bass Pro, but that doesn't sound right. I know we went to Gander Mountain, and then we went to like one or two other places, but I can't remember what they were.
Okay. Showing you a photograph labeled exhibit number 563.
Jesus.
Did you take that picture?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
The river, sir.
That you went swimming?
Yes, sir.
And who took you there?
Chandler and his girlfriend at the time.
All right. I'll move 563 in evidence.
No objection.
It is received.
And I asked to publish it on the Elmo. Actually, it's not set up right now. I'm just going to show everybody.
Oh, that's fine.
Was that a river or a lake you were swimming at?
River, sir.
And was there a city across the street or across the river from there?
Yes, sir. And there was a bridge.
Good
on
night,
the right.
Amelia.
Having never been to Wisconsin before, you don't know exactly what river that was or where you were?
I'm just here, sir.
Okay. How long did you stay up here with Chandler and the family when you came to visit?
So I got up there on Saturday morning, right around 5 a.m., I think, and then I stayed there until Sunday evening around 1700, and then went and departed and was able to arrive back home on Monday around 2 or 4 in the morning, somewhere between, sir.
Okay. When you visited Wisconsin to see Chandler, you brought him a gift.
Yes, sir.
What did you bring him?
I brought him a 20-inch barrel SKS.
How did you acquire this gun?
So I had purchased it on a gun broker.
You're
and I went and
welcome.
had it
See you
sent to my
tomorrow.
FL, and then it went and sat in the FL until I went and did the FL transfer. So I purchased it initially because I really thought, like, oh, well, I like it in the video game. I might like it in real life. And then I fired it. It sat in my safe, and then I never touched it again. And then it just dawned on me, like, well, I'm going to give it to someone who might actually appreciate this weapon and take care of it and all that. So I ended up giving it to Chandler as a gift.
Okay. So while you like guns, you didn't particularly love this gun?
No, sir.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as exhibit number 391. You know what that document is?
Yes, sir. It's a.
I understand
forfeiture
this
paper,
guy
sir.
though.
And you've been
Like,
saying
I
the
like
phrase
sandwiches,
FFL,
right?
correct?
But I
Yes.
don't
What
like
does
all
that mean?
That's a
sandwiches.
federal firearms license holder.
Meaning someone who's licensed to sell firearms and fills out
Yes,
paperwork.
and does the correct background checks and such.
Got it. I'll move
No, he's not,
391
Lupe.
into evidence.
No objection.
It is received.
This document has your signature on it and the person who sold it, their signature, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it has the serial number of the weapon that you purchased.
Yes, sir.
I think that's his jacket liner.
Now, when
'Cause
you
I was
gave
trying
the
to figure
gun
that
to
out
Chandler,
too,
did he
but he's
pay
got
for
a
it?
t-shirt
No, sir.
on.
It was a gift.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but he's
Did
definitely
you
not in
document in any
uniform.
way
'Cause he's
transferring
not in the
No.
army
Yes, sir.
anymore.
How did
He
you,
Well,
wouldn't-
now
did
that
you
he
fill out
moved,
paperwork like
but
this?
it looked
I
like he
took
had
his
something
photo
weird that
ID that the state
tan
issued
part
him,
of his
and I took it right
jacket,
next to his
but
serial
now
number,
that he's
annotating
moved,
that this
you
was
can
me
tell.
giving this weapon to
Yeah.
this individual, so that way, if anything like this would occur, that it wouldn't necessarily come back to me.
Okay. It was important to you to document that.
Most times it is, yes.
Okay. So I'm showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 393.
Can you push pause
394,
real quick, Allie,
and then-
please? Shmita?
And you may like him, but
Okay, I have your
I-
permission?
yes. 'Cause now I was thinking about it, I was like, crap, Jen might like him, but I think he's a douche. Sorry
Well,
for my language.
No, it's okay. Really? That's going to be the deal breaker.
Well, I don't know what it's allowed on the tubes.
I mean, we're well past the 6-minute mark usually, but I totally lost what I was going to say. Crap.
I know, Rittenhouse friends just give him a gun. This kid gives his friend a gun that he met
Oh.
on Xbox.
I know what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. I will say this. I don't care how long you've been playing online with somebody. I can say that Mo and I have known each other since 2017. We were friends for 3 years before she came and visited me, right? Mo did not bring me a gun as a first time meeting gift. I think that's just a little too forward. I mean, I'm just saying, listen, far be it from me to tell anybody else what to do, but for me, I would be taken, even if I liked guns, I would be a little taken aback about that. But that's just me.
I
Watch
I don't
somebody
not
that
like this
Lonnie
guy.
plays Xbox with is gonna show up at your house with a gun.
He doesn't play Xbox.
Oh,
He plays. He plays.
well, I
yeah.
shouldn't be telling your family's names. Your son.
Well, too late now.
Well, yeah. I just explained who they each were too.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just doxed Jen's whole life. Great friend I am.
All right, hit it, Shamita.
Okay. Yeah, I don't not like this guy. He reminds me of myself in some ways, but he irritates me. If that makes sense.
I just
Because
think if
He
there was
knows that he's
another
not guilty, so he doesn't care.
right, and I think if there was another attorney, defense attorney, they would have tore his ass up.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised the judge didn't say something, but I guess you have to ask the judge. But go ahead, I'm not gonna spoil it.
More zoomed in version, which is 564. Do those all appear to be just general versions of what you did there?
Yes, sir.
And so these are Chandler's driver's license and the serial number of that weapon.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll move 393, 394, and 564 into evidence.
No objection.
They are received.
And I'll publish them to the jury just by showing it, if that's fine with everyone.
Oh, I didn't make it. I thought I was going to be able to push him.
So I'm showing
Sorry,
first this
guys.
one. This is Chandler's ID, and then you
Bless
put it
you.
next to that serial
Thank you.
number.
Yes, sir.
Another version zoomed in, same thing.
Yes, sir.
And then the actual serial number zoomed in a little bit closer.
Yes, sir.
Can you read the
Paula,
serial
I
number
think
for
he
us
said he
of
really liked
this
that gun
for
in the
zoomed-in
game,
picture?
and
Yes,
so
sir.
he just brought it to surprise him. I don't think he asked for it.
101.
'Cause this kid would have said if he asked for it.
485. Papa.
So 101-794-85.
P.
Pete, Paul. Okay. Had Chandler asked you for this gun, or was this just your idea?
I think he had at one point asked for it as a joke, but mostly it was my idea, sir.
You brought him other things that go with the gun?
Yes, sir.
What type of things?
So I had brought him a steel canister that had contained roughly 480 rounds of 7.62 by 39 steel case tool ammo.
And is that the ammunition that goes with that weapon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And showing you what's been marked, Exhibit 395, 396, 397. Do those appear to be that canister of ammunition?
Yes, sir.
And are you fairly confident that's the one you brought?
Well, I mean, I'm the only weirdo that stencils his ammo can, so yes.
You put those stencils on there?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'd move 397, 395, and 396 into evidence.
No objection.
They are received.
And I'll move to publish to 396.
Yes, of course.
And so, showing the jury this picture, when you say you stencil this ammo can, what do you mean by that?
So I've got plenty of different kinds of
Slow
rounds in my home.
down,
So I'll go
Mr.
and
Prosecutor.
have
I'd
different
like to
clean
see
films,
that
and I take
picture.
a spray can, I'll buy the stencils so I can make sure I know what I'm grabbing if I need something before I go to the range, so I'm not running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to figure out what can goes to what.
It's like
so
he
this yellow
heard you.
paint that says 762 by 39.
He's like, oh, you didn't tell me to stop.
Yes, sir.
And briefly, just showing you exhibit number 398, 399, 400, 401. Do all of those appear to be the ammunition that was inside of that can?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll move 398 through 401.
No objection.
They are received.
And I'd move to publish. I'll publish just for purposes of just showing the jury something, 398 and 400.
Very good.
And these are just those ammunition.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There was a lot of ammunition.
A bit.
How did Chandler react when you gave him the gun?
Oh, he was happy.
What do you mean? But how do you know he was happy, or how do you know that?
Because he had a big smile on his face when I had given it to him as a gift.
Did he say thank you? I feel like he didn't say thank you.
Were you aware whether his parents that he was living with were gun people or wanted guns in their home?
As far as I knew that, or what I was explained by Chandler, was that his parents understood the reason why firearms exist in this world. And not that they necessarily support having them, but they're helpful in situations.
Sure.
I
To your
agree,
knowledge,
Paula.
did Chandler have any guns?
Candle.
As far as I knew, he told me
Has he
that he
got
had
to
owned
the,
a AR-15.
No, we haven't
with
no.
Right here it is.
with a barrel extension that had to be welded on or something like that. And it was kind of looked like an M16 almost.
Did you ever see that gun?
He had shown me a picture of it on on the app called Discord, but I
Gun
don't have any
catfish.
documentation of that.
When you were here in Wisconsin, did you ever see any guns in the Halderson house?
I think I asked about it, but I think he said that they had it at the wherever their cabin was.
Oh boy.
It was a
What did you
BB
do?
gun.
What did Chandler
Hey,
do with it?
Crackling
Were you able
Rosie,
to
true
put
crime.
it in the house?
Yeah, he had initially, so if you would walk down the flight stairs in the basement, you would look left, there was like a little wood pile, and he had stuck it in the middle section there because it was, I understood that they might not be happy about having this.
Hold on. He just said that his parents understood
Mm-hmm.
why they exist and that they were okay with it being in the house, but that's perfectly normal to just hide it in between the wood pile. Like,
Yeah, because they wouldn't want it actually in the house. It's like nothing he told you made sense.
no, and nobody calls him on it.
And they found BB guns underneath his bed, so I'm thinking that the AR-15 was actually a BB gun, or he showed him a picture that he got online.
Yeah, because
He didn't
let
have
me
no
say-
damn AR-15.
Well, let me say this. This guy that's testifying right now, the fact of the matter is that he was in the military, which means that he is familiar with weapons, right? With guns. He knows what they look like, yada, yada, yada. It'd be very difficult for Chandler to catfish him with a BB gun. There is a difference in the way a
I
BB
know,
gun
when I said
looks.
catfish,
No, I
meant
know.
he got a picture online.
No, I know I know what you mean, but like I feel like he not that this kid isn't not it's not this kid's fault, but I do feel like he did definitely ignore some glaringly these were beyond flags. This was a whole tapestry of alarm bells should be red flags, alarm bells going off. Like it's some warning signs, but okay.
Yeah, they're totally okay with it as long as you store it
In
out
the
of
wood
sight
pile.
where I won't ever see it or find it or know that it's in the house.
Well, I mean,
that's totally okay.
Technically, if you think about it, a gun on your property is a gun on your property. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's the art. Maybe that's probably what, I bet that's what Chandler told him, is that like my parents are fine if I have one. They're fine if it's here, meaning on the property, but not actually like, I don't know, in the house. It's weird, but okay, let's go.
Yeah. Well, understanding why guns exist and being okay with them and okay with them in your house. Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have been grounded
So,
if his
but he
parents
had told
found
me
it.
he was going
He
to be
sure would
moving
have been on
soon
punishment.
to do a tour of SpaceX in Florida, so he was just going to take it with him and move out there with it.
I got a notification for
magazines?
SpaceX today.
Yes, sir.
By the
3.
way, for no reason.
3.
They launched
Well,
something.
And those all went with that
Because
gun.
they heard
Yes, sir.
you.
Were they
course they
loaded when
did.
you gave them to them?
Not initially, sir.
How did they become loaded?
I think we were bullshitting with the magazine, sir, and both of us and were like, he was asking me how to load it, so I was like, oh, you just, and I was showing him how to pack the magazine.
Aside from, and I think we've got it, but aside from the gun, the 3 magazines, the ammo can, and then the 400 some rounds of ammunition, was there anything else related to the gun that you gave to Chandler?
The optic that came on the weapon.
The sight, if for most people. If people aren't gun people, what's an optic?
It's the same thing, essentially.
If I showed you that gun, would you recognize it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're not going to touch it. The detectives, in fact, are going to touch it, but it's already been received into evidence.
Roger.
In this case.
Roger.
Okay, okay. Now I'm a little annoyed because I feel like I feel like homeboy here is trying to have his what is the name of that movie with Jack Nicholson and Demi Moore and Tom
Good,
Cruise?
good man. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that one. Like he's about to have his. You want the truth? You
Yeah.
can't handle the
This
truth.
is
He
Detective
really
Shunk,
thinks
who I
he's
think you
big
met in this
shit
case.
for
Does that appear to be the
being a
weapon
wit.
that you gave to Chandler?
Yeah,
Did you
you're
put
not.
together?
You're not testifying at a military. A few good men. That's it. Thank you, Lupe.
Yeah.
It was on the tip of my tongue.
I knew said I said
And-
good man.
Looking at this zoom picture of the serial number from the driver's license. photo,
Yeah.
You can stand up if you need to. Would you confirm to me if that's the serial number, in fact, on that weapon?
Yes.
Yes, Tony. He's
I think just because you
doing
weren't speaking
way
into the
too
microphone, because I
much.
asked you to stand up.
Yeah,
that last
here's where he
response, yes,
starts
that is
getting
the serial
really
number.
cocky.
Yes, sir.
The magazines themselves, would you recognize those if you saw them?
Yes, sir.
How so?
Well, I don't remember. My
We
brain
don't
doesn't always
judge.
work correctly sometimes.
I
but
stay off.
I can remember
Coolest
most of the
reviews.
firearms. So I know 2 of them should be made by ProMag, and then one has a metal bottom with some black screwed up something on it.
When you gave Chandler the 3 magazines, and obviously there's 1 gun, but there's 3 magazines. There's a
Did
good
you
deal of
just hear him,
ammunition,
Jen?
you know, several hundred rounds.
With the
Were you
screwed up
400.
part, yeah.
Were you given
480.
My brain's
Were you
screwed
giving him
up, but I know
everything you had
guns.
related to that gun?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have any reason to keep any of the other things?
No, sir.
Okay. Just 1 second. We're going to show you some other stuff.
Gotcha.
You know what I want to know while we're just sitting around waiting for whatever's going to happen? If you are a witness in a trial like this and you're called to testify, who pays for you to come from wherever you live to wherever the trial is?
The state?
Are you sure about that?
I think whoever is
Again, you'll
in
notice
it
the detective's
is
wearing
there,
gloves, so
yeah.
he'll show you anything.
I
he'll
don't know.
turn
That's
things
why
around
I'm
if you ask
asking
him.
because he
I'll
looks
ask
like
you.
he's perturbed, like they're
Right.
bothering him at work.
Because he thinks he's Coolio.
I mean, I don't think they would cover any wages lost or
They
anything
just
like
thought
that.
they just bring your
But
they
Because of
just
the
pay
break
for your
that we had
airfare.
in suspending the trial, I
Probably.
asked the
I
detectives
don't
to
know.
reseal
I
all
have
of the
no
evidence
idea.
boxes since we weren't going to be able to
I would think
access
they would
them for a
have to
number of
pay
days.
for it. Because
And
what if
that's
you couldn't afford
the
to get
process
there?
that's happening at this time.
Okay, Navigator agrees with you girls. The state, if you're their witness. Thank you, Navigator. Paula, I won't. I shall bring you a nice candle.
And so,
Or just me, because aren't I a gift?
showing you what's been marked as 288, does that appear to be a magazine consistent with what you gave Mr. Halderson?
You're a gift
Yes,
and
sir.
Mo is a
And
prize.
what defining characteristics are on that magazine that made you believe that is in fact when you gave him?
The big ugly splash on the bottom of the magazine, sir.
All right, and I'll have the detective display that to the jury.
Thank you, Anaphylaxis.
Oh, you do? Shit, I'm gonna have to go around and like witness all this crimes.
I mean, you are
Oh,
Schmieda's
geez.
pictures.
So we're going to do the same
Can you
process.
imagine if they called
Next
you
two.
and you had to
The
bust
next
out your
exhibit we're gonna deal with
87
is
terabytes of
289.
screenshots?
That's what I was thinking.
Hold on, I'm getting to it. Just let me scroll. Aw, thank you, Paula. Listen, maybe he's irritated because they had to take a break. And so he was intended to be called much earlier on in the trial. Let's think about it. And he should be home right now. But instead, he had to
He's
stay put
hungry.
in Wisconsin. Yeah.
I
And
think he likes that he's there.
he doesn't look like
He
he's
feels
having,
important.
I don't
yeah,
know.
I
He
think
looks like
thinks
he's annoyed.
important. Because he's trying to act like he's some badass.
Oh,
Did you
okay.
see him
I'm trying to
staring
remember
Chandler
though
down?
that he's young. He is young.
Yeah, he is.
Like, but he was in the military and
Oh, well,
stuff, so
listen, you're not being a know-it-all. I didn't know, and you knew. So thank you for sharing.
Did you see him staring Chandler down?
No,
It was
I don't,
just
I
a few
don't,
minutes ago.
I wasn't,
he
well,
looked at him like, "Oh, it's your fault I'm here."
well, it's hard for me to say who he's looking at from this viewpoint. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no, I think he was looking at him.
Okay. Maybe he was looking at his defense attorney. I've been wondering this whole trial. I can't remember
Oh,
what
he
her
might
name
have
is.
been like, bitch, don't ask me nothing.
Well, no, I'm curious about, she brings a different cup thing every day to trial, and I want to know what's in it. Maybe that's what he was staring at. I
Clear
don't know.
liquid. That's all you need to know.
The most I've heard her talk is when she tried to argue for his bail.
Mm.
You gotta play that sometime.
Again,
Too.
same process.
We
We're
will.
showing you 289. You can ask that be moved any way you'd like. Does that appear to be consistent with the magazine that you gave Chandler Halderson?
Yes, sir.
And would that fit to the SKS rifle that you just looked at?
Yes, sir.
We'll go to the next one. And while the detective's pulling out the next one, the last one, which I can touch the outside, is Exhibit 288. You yourself have fired this gun in the past.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you aware exactly how much ammunition you gave to Chandler?
Yes, sir.
How much?
The box ammo that I have purchased had 500 rounds in it, sir. I've shot roughly 20, didn't enjoy the firearm, and gave him 480 rounds.
And when you say 480, is that an estimate, or do you know that to be exact?
That
should
guy
be
cannot
precise.
get that glove on.
While you were here in Wisconsin with Chandler, did you all fire the weapon?
It's like
No, sir.
two sizes too small for his hand.
Bless his heart. He always struggles with these gloves. Every time. Why did they pick this poor officer?
He looks like he wants to get up and do it himself.
What?
Yeah.
Stop yawning. It's not that much longer.
We're about to break up.
They had to reseal everything when they went on break.
Oh, that's a good. Look what anaphylaxis said.
Oh.
One eternity later.
See him laughing?
Showing you that
Yeah.
exhibit. You can ask for it to be moved any way you'd like.
Yes, sir.
Is that consistent with the magazine you gave Chandler?
Yes, sir.
Did you discuss with Chandler when you gave him the weapon in June of this past year, anything more about what he was going to do with it other than I think you said he was going to move to Florida with his new job? Anything else? Did you discuss? Was he going to go hunting? Anything like that?
I don't believe so, sir.
That's not a hunting gun.
You said you visited him over the course of a
At
couple of
all.
days. Did you give it to him right away or later on in
I
the
mean,
week?
unless
I
you're
think
on
it was,
what's that island? That
it was
movie?
either Sunday that I gave it to him, or it was someday on Saturday that I gave it to him.
I don't know, but if
That island.
You
What's
guys
that
know what
movie
I?
where you're on an island
No, it's
with Tom Hanks, and he has the soccer
Cast-
ball.
It's a volleyball. Castaway. Wilson.
There you go.
That's not the island
gave
I'm
it to him
thinking
and he
of.
placed
There,
it,
there
like you
is.
said.
There's a movie where, they're on an island. They fly in and they basically hunt humans. I just can't think of the name of it right now. It'll come to me. It's not important.
I do know what you're talking about.
It was,
Yeah.
so it was almost like a bench like this, but there was a hollow center that had stuff stacked inside of it, and he just kind of shoved it in there since there was stuff blocking the front path of it from view.
Do you know where? Did the gun ever come out after he put it in there? Did you ever see it again?
We could have, sir. I think we could have played around with it, just showing how it works. And like, keep in mind, I had this weapon for a couple months, just had it sit in my safe, so I've had plenty of time to figure out a little bit of the ins and outs of it. So
Okay. Did he place? Do you know where Chandler placed the magazines or the ammo box?
I don't recall, sir.
Okay. Did Chandler tell you anything more about his job at SpaceX?
Not really, sir. Just that he had an opportunity that he was looking forward to.
You left at some point. You continued talking to Chandler, playing video games after you went back home.
Yes, sir.
At some point, did Chandler suffer some sort of injury?
Yes, sir.
What do
As
you know
far
about
as I
that?
know, he went down the stairs and had fell somehow and screwed up his
The
head
most
or his
dangerous
neck.
game.
That's it. Thank you,
And
Mo.
did that injury, according to Chandler, did that end up impacting his job or anything like that?
As far as I knew, so it seemed that because of the injury, he wasn't going to be able to take a flight out to Florida to do this SpaceX thing. But other than that, he didn't really explain what was wrong, just
They got
that he wasn't going to
buses.
be able to fly out there and he wasn't able to look at computer screens or anything like that with so much blur on the screen or motion blur.
Did you find out at some point that Chandler's parents were missing?
Yes, sir.
How did you find out?
It was shortly after the 4th of July when I had came back from Texas from visiting my other buddy. He had gave me a sort of, not hysterical per se, but a pretty upsetting call that his parents hadn't got back to him or he hadn't seen them.
Sure. And then the cadence of things, was this was after the head injury?
Yes, sir.
Did Chandler tell you anything about the head injury in terms of specifics about what was going to happen or how
He
severe it
told me
was?
that he would have to wear a neck brace and that they were supposed to drill a hole in his head or something like that to alleviate some sort of pressure.
Did you talk to Chandler about his parents being missing?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about those conversations.
Well,
Oh, I
day
know what
one
I
when
want to
he
ask
told
this
us-
kid.
Because he had told me and my friend that he's friends with that I visited when I was down in Texas.
I bet they
He
made
told us
sure
that
were he
they had been
was during the
missing.
time.
So we both suggested
Uh-huh.
to him that, hey, if this is really a big concern for you, you might want to contact law enforcement immediately.
Okay. What did Chandler say to that?
He said, well, they might turn up, so I'll just wait a few days, and so it goes.
After that conversation, do you recall having any other conversations with Chandler about his parents being missing?
Just talking about how or where they could have end up it or what was going on with the situation.
Was Chandler expressing worry to you or that he was concerned?
He seemed concerned, yes.
At some point, sure, and obviously now you're aware that Chandler was arrested for what happened.
Yes, sir.
You began having to have some conversations with law enforcement because a gun that was found very close to
Here it
Bart
comes.
Halderson, Chandler's father, was that gun that we just showed you. And so law enforcement started talking to you, right?
Yes, sir. Well, I
Leading.
reached out to them immediately upon figuring out that he had been arrested.
You've been cooperative with law enforcement the whole time, haven't you?
I'm not going to be a broken piece of glass, sir.
Meaning you'll help if you need to.
Yes.
Okay. The police, in fact, visited you down in where you live.
Yeah, Shmita.
At some point.
Yes, sir.
You
I
were
was
asked to give
muted.
them access to things like bank
I was like,
records
that doesn't
or your
even make
phone and
any
things of that
sense.
sort.
Yes, sir.
And you've provided photographs whenever you could.
A broken
Yes, sir.
piece of
Why was that
glass is
important to you to
useless.
assist?
Well, to put
But
it
what does
bluntly,
that
sir,
help if you
I
need it?
served in the Army,
Push
and
play-
I'm not going
push
to get fucked
pause.
for something that I didn't do.
Okay. What is the opposite? If you say I'm not going to be useless, then what are you going to be?
Useful.
Correct. Helpful.
Yeah.
So it's a flip answer. It's a smart assy answer that he wasn't going to volunteer any information, but he wasn't going to be useless if they were to go to him with do it, Paula, with if they asked. But I missed this. Can you rewind it just a teeny tiny bit about where he says he's not going to get effed? Also, every question, his last 5 questions have all been leading questions.
Oh, they sure have.
All right, that's good. That's good. Just a tiny. It was
Fly
only a
out
tiny
there.
bit.
Oh,
He wasn't able.
well done.
Don't get crazy with the
And in
rewind.
the cadence of things, was this was after the head injury?
Yes, sir.
Is this too
Did
far?
Chandler tell you anything
Go
about
for it
the
a
head
little more.
injury in terms of specifics about what was going to happen?
They might turn up, so I'll just wait a few days.
This is good.
Okay.
So it goes.
After that conversation, do you recall having any other conversations with Chandler about his parents being missing?
Just talking about how or where they could have end up it, or what was going on with the situation.
Was Chandler expressing worry to you or that he was concerned?
He seemed concerned, yes.
I just saw that.
At some point, sure, and obviously now you're aware that
Yes,
Chandler was
cement
arrested
shoes.
for what happened.
Yes, babe. Sorry, I missed that.
Um,
After I highlighted the
you
comment
began
literally
having to have
above
some
yours. I'm
conversations with law
sorry.
enforcement because a gun that was found very close to Bart Halderson, Chandler's father, was that gun that we just showed you. And so law enforcement started talking to you, right?
Yes, sir. Well, I had reached out to them immediately upon figuring out that he had been arrested.
You've been cooperative with law enforcement the whole time, haven't you?
Leading.
I'm not going to be a broken piece of glass, sir.
Meaning you'll help if you need to.
Yes.
The police, in fact, visited
Also
you
leading.
down in where you live at some point.
Yes, sir.
This is leading.
You, when asked, had given them access to things like bank records or your phone and
This
things
is
of that
also
sort.
leading.
Yes, sir.
And you've provided photographs whenever you could.
Yes, sir.
Why was that important to you to assist?
Well, to put it bluntly, sir, I served in the Army, and I'm not going to get fucked for something that I didn't do.
Where were you? July 1st, July 2nd, 2021?
Crystal Beach, Texas, sir.
In fact, what is Exhibit 566?
Nobody laughed at your
What's
little
that
cuss
name,
word
sir?
that
And
time.
where's
No,
that
they
bank
sure
statement to show
didn't.
that you are?
So if you follow this down, so you can see that I went and did some sort of purchase at a gas station at Texas at 7:02. Then follow this down.
Now I
7:02
am
Western
too, Lupe.
Texas. And then keep following it down. You see 7:02 Crystal Beach, Texas.
Told you
Keep following down.
so.
You can see left again,
Yes,
sir.
you
And then
did.
Crystal Beach, sir. And then more purchases at Crystal Beach, Texas, sir. And then a few of interspersed things that my wife had been purchasing at Dollar Tree, apparently.
And where was she at?
She was in Manhattan still, sir, or Junction City, sir.
Junction City? And
Oh, I
in
missed
all
that
of these
part where they
purchases,
did
and
make
this is a
him
bank
prove where he
statement from
was.
the first, looks like through the 10th. There's not a single one from Wisconsin, correct?
No, sir.
Nothing from
Yo, the
Illinois,
state covered everything.
No,
So
They
Iowa?
did. They did.
No, sir.
Minnesota?
Unless I have the power of God to teleport, sir, I don't think that's going to occur.
Understood. I'll move 566 into evidence.
God doesn't need to teleport. He's omnipotent, which means he's
I don't think it needs
everywhere
to be
all the time.
switched.
Silly.
Your bank statements can
Has
just be right there.
information been redacted?
They have been redacted if ultimately.
All you
anyone-
can see is how broke I am.
That's fine. And in fact, at times, you're aware that the police verified your location in other ways, phone records and things of that sort.
I'm sure they did, sir.
Yeah. You were never in Wisconsin in July of 2021.
No, sir.
Yeah.
He seems hostile. What?
Oh, just wait.
Who whizzed in your
Exactly.
Wendy's? Why
That's
are
why
you
I
so
didn't
angry?
understand. I don't understand why the defense doesn't
Cross-examination?
say something.
Good afternoon, Mr. Smith.
Here
All
it
right,
comes.
hold
Good
on.
afternoon, ma'am.
I'd like to first ask you a few questions about that SKS that you purchased. Is it correct that you purchased that initially for yourself?
Yes, sir. Or ma'am,
Oh.
sorry.
Is it fair to say you're interested in guns?
In firearms, yes, ma'am.
You said you went and fired that SKS maybe 20 times?
I had shot it once and put 20 rounds to the rifle itself through my hands, ma'am.
After that, you decided it wasn't that appealing to you?
No, ma'am. Just too much of kick, too much of anything that didn't make me happy about the weapon.
That's what
So it
that
didn't
means.
What do you
appeal
mean
to
by
you.
too much kick?
So each caliber of weapon or bullet will fire X amount of powder through it. So for example, the SKS, which shoots 7.62 by 39 NATO, or whatever it is in Russia, it shoots a bigger payload of powder versus 5.56/223, which shoots up to 27 grains of powder. So it's not as much kick, but you can still put enough firepower down range.
Why does the kick make it unappealing to you?
Because if I had to defend my family from a home intruder, I think 5.56 is going to be a lot easier and a lot faster for me to react with than a 7.62 by 39 rounds.
Compared to other guns or firearms that you've used, the SKS is somewhat louder than similar type firearms, correct?
Not necessarily. It depends. It really depends on a lot of things, along where the location is. If you're in let's say you're shooting it in here, it's going to be loud as hell because
See,
there's all
she's
the
gonna
encasing
try to
around
say
you.
nobody
If
heard
you're
the
outside,
gunshot.
It's going to be not as loud, but it's still going to be pretty loud.
Louder than a handgun.
Not necessarily.
Under similar circumstances, louder than a handgun.
Possibly. Yes.
Now, you're familiar with your familiarity with firearms. You're familiar with the terms of flash suppressor or flash hider?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are those?
So a flash hider, depending on what you have, it can make either the ball of flame that comes out of it a lot bigger. It can make it so when you're shooting or at a prone position, when you're firing, the weapon gets pulled forward versus sending
See,
recoil
he's
back,
not
so it's
an
not as much.
expert.
And it really depends on what you're talking about
He
specifically.
likes to think
you can't
he
just
is.
throw
He
a
wants
flash
to be.
hider in with one of the other things because they all do different things.
Potentially, they could also reduce the sound.
Not necessarily unless you have a suppressor.
Pause it
So
for
a
a
flash
minute.
suppressor can reduce the sound.
A flash suppressor?
I think what she's setting up, maybe, is that she's going to have an expert that debunks what he's saying. It's the only reason I can think she's asking these questions about how loud it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, with that neighborhood full of like ex-law enforcement and everything else, she does somewhat have a point.
Except
you-
for it was the 4th of July.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, but it wasn't the 4th of July. Actually, technically, they suspect it happened on the 1st. Most
We're
neighborhoods.
celebrating Canada Day in the neighborhood.
Well, yes.
I don't know, but like it.
Big gunshot. Oh, that's just our neighbors celebrating Canada Day.
Yeah, but most cities have an ordinance in that, yeah, you can do your fireworks, right? but you can only do it on the actual date of the holiday. That doesn't, that's not, I don't know if this place did or not, but
Because I've wondered that too, how nobody heard a gunshot.
Because we're talking 2, possibly 3 shots.
Well, his dad was shot
Twice.
2 that they, and then they suspect one up near the neck, so that would be 3.
mm-hmm.
So that's 3.
And he would have had to shoot his mom,
Well,
but we don't know. Sorry, Jerry. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
If you can go out and buy a suppressor with a tax stamp, yes.
So could any kind of silencer?
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't provide any of those with this SKS when you
No, ma'am,
gifted it to
but with
Mr. Halderson?
the SKS's barrel at the end of it, regardless, it's kind of an act of God almost to put a suppressor on. So there's barrel threading, which was not on this SKS at the end of it. There might be a special attachment you can get and purchase and put onto this firearm, but unless you have certain special attachments, it might not necessarily fit in correctly or seat correctly, which can cause problems itself and cause an obstruction.
Bottom line though, this SKS that you gifted Mr. Halderson didn't have any of that.
No, ma'am. It's the standard end of an AK-74, essentially.
Now, when you gifted this SKS to Mr. Halderson, you talked about this procedure you use with taking a photo of someone's driver's license with the serial number from the firearm. Do you
Yes,
remember
ma'am.
that? That's not something you only have done with Mr. Halderson. It's something you've done anytime you've sold, transferred, or gifted firearms, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you've done that several times?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
Depends on a lot of things. If I have, so I can have an AR-15 that I'll buy and I'll build it and then it'll sit in my safe for whatever reason for a long time. And then I can go like, oh, okay, well, go and sell it. But as per how many I've sold,
I think he's 22. I think.
that's none of your business, frankly.
Okay. Now, when you gifted this SKS to Mr.
I can't believe
Halderson,
she just said
you talked
okay.
about this procedure you use with taking a photo of someone's driver's license with the serial number from the firearm. Do you
Yes,
remember
ma'am.
that? That's not something you only have done with Mr. Halderson. It's something you've done anytime you've sold, transferred, or gifted firearms, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you've done that several times?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
Depends on a lot of things. If I have, so I can have an AR-15 that I'll buy and I'll build it and then it'll sit in my safe for whatever reason for a long time. And then I can go like, oh, okay, well, go and sell it. But as per how many I've sold, that's none of your business, frankly.
Okay. That's really all I have. Thank you.
Any redirect? No. May this witness be excused and released.
He is both, yes.
Thank you, sir. Have a good
Yes,
rest of your day.
Have a good day, sir.
Thank you. And the next witness, please.
The judge is like, there you go. That's why we wanted to talk about it.
That's none of your business.
I just cannot believe if any other lawyer would have been like, excuse me.
No, actually, no, I can't even believe I'm saying this. She handled this correctly. Had she does not have to say that. He doesn't have to release that information. Okay.
No, but it's the way that he.
It is the way that he
declined.
said it. You're right. It's his bad. But had she gone after him for that, she would have looked unprofessional, which is why she didn't do it, which she handled it correctly.
Mhm.
But I do think that Mo.
Well, that was his way to say, I plead the fifth.
Right.
basically.
Which
I
he's
don't
allowed
think
to
he's
do.
probably sold any guns, but he wants to make himself appear like some big bad arms dealer.
Here's the thing, though. That's a risk. I don't know, because he, being in the military or former military, he's aware of a code of ethics and conduct. And one of those, it is not, it means it, well, not one of those. One of the things that includes is not perjuring yourself on the witness stand. If they had wanted that information, they could have gotten it, but he didn't have to offer it freely. You know what I mean? It was rude and it was uncouth and he didn't behave. It was disgusting. I don't like the way he spoke to her at all. It wasn't necessary. He could have said, I don't want to answer that, instead of saying it's none of your business.
Yeah.
That was rude.
I agree.
Who was the witness after him? Navigator wanted to know.
Let me check.
He's on there because that guy wasn't very long at all. But Mo, I think you're correct. I think that it's possible that she is trying to lay the foundation of how come nobody heard the gun. And the reason that she asked him that question, even though he is not an expert witness, okay, he did fire the gun more than once. So, or, he did fire the gun. It was his gun originally, which means he'd be familiar with how loud it was or it wasn't. That's all. That was
Yes,
her
and
point.
she did get him to say that it would be extremely hard to put a silencer on it.
Correct. He was very snarky and it was very rude. He had just disrespectful as all get out.
Well, okay. Devil's advocate, I would be annoyed too if someone was trying to use me as a loophole or a scapegoat.
Yes.
For getting off on dismembering your family. Like, I can see how I'd be like, hell no.
I would be annoyed at the fact that this person that I gifted a gun to took it and used it to murder.
Yeah.
Anybody. That's what I would be offended. There's all of it. I think it's all of it. However, what I'm curious about, which the prosecution hasn't really alluded to yet, is possibly what time of day this all occurred. Because what I think
I
is...
thought they did in their opening. Didn't they even give a time?
No, I don't think they did. Maybe they did, and I just don't remember. But what I think the prosecution is going to say that their thought process is the reason that nobody heard it was because it was a work day, and that it likely occurred.
I think they said between 3 and 6.
Okay, so then that means it would have happened prior to really most people being home from work, which means it's like that. What's that saying? If a tree falls in the woods and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound?
True, but I think there's supposed to be a lot of retired people. Like, look at the people. Like, look at all the neighbors.
Yeah, the cop was retired.
But they're
all old.
But they lived across the street.
Oh, and the one cop with the fireplace video, he went to a baseball game.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, and if it was done down in that basement, you know what I mean? It's very possible that it wouldn't have been heard.
I think he did his dad in the basement and his mom in that bathroom. I don't know, Lupe. I'll have to go back and look and see the exact time. Because I'm pretty sure they said a time.
I'm just saying, like, it's not I don't know where I think that's where she was intending to go with it, meaning, but there's other factors in just because a gun is loud, it's like I said, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody is around to hear it, does it make a sound? We only know what sound is if we hear it. So if nobody's there to hear it, then does it make a sound? See what I'm saying? So I think that there are all kinds of ways that doesn't get reasonable doubt to me. That's what my point is. It's not enough.
Oh, I agree.
It doesn't get me anywhere near reasonable doubt.
No, not with everything else they have. That's like chump change.
Well, I'm curious as to what the that is the okay, as much as it's the prosecution's sole responsibility to prove guilt, there is a measure of responsibility on the defense's part, and that is to raise reasonable doubt. But there's other ways to, I mean, there's ways to do it without even putting on a single witness. She could put nobody on and go all the way to let them present their case. Don't present any witnesses. And then in her closing arguments, argue that all they've done is connect the gun to him as the murder weapon, but they don't have any proof so far. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be more, but
I have a feeling that's what she's gonna do.
Right. They're
Unless he
say
goes up, which
I think that it's always a risky move, no matter who it is, for a defendant to testify on their own behalf. It's always risky because once they're up there, it's not so much for the defense, it's for the prosecution, because
Right.
once they're up there, they can be asked anything. They don't have to answer, but they can still be asked, right? So it's a risky move. And this is not a case. Most of the time, those cases where the defendant testifies are in a situation if they're going to raise self-defense. Because if you want to, you have to understand the jury needs to hear what was going through the person's mind that made them feel that they were in fear for their life, which is what caused them to do the action they did, right? The only person who can speak to that is the person who was there. It's still a risky move, but usually that's the when they do it.
I don't think he'll go up.
No, I
I
don't
mean,
think so
she
either.
will advise very strongly, but who knows with him and his lies.
Yeah, but here's the deal. If I don't know. I just can't see. I don't think he'll get up there and do it. I really don't.
I don't think he will either, but
You
I think
never
she'll do
know.
exactly what you said. I don't know if she'll put anybody up.
I think she might put a few people up because if you're going to,
She might put the girlfriend back up.
she might put the girlfriend back up, and she might put some type of firearms expert up. Something, I don't know. I don't know what she's going to do. I can't figure it out by her line of questioning. Although that was more of a hint than this last person was more of a hint than anybody else
I agree.
to her, what she might potentially be thinking. But
Because I've wondered that too. That's why I thought that.
yeah. Paula, the DNA lady from what was it, day 5 or 6? That testimony, or is there another DNA coming up that was hard to understand?
I think she meant well, I'll let her answer you. But I'm pretty sure she meant the one that was confusing.
It took me a minute to get to understand what she was showing with the results. But then it clicked, and then I got it. So
Yeah, I got it after you explained.
I mean, it's complicated, but it took me a minute to get what she was presenting or explaining, but what those results meant. But then I got it, and I think with that specific witness, the intention on the state's part was to prove that everything that was found near Walt Halderson's body at the farm, or on the farm, I should say, anything that was found near his body or in and around the farm was connected to Bart and Krista Halderson in some way, shape, or form. So either both of their DNA was on certain stuff, or one or the other, but most of it was mixed. So, and I think that they used that evidence to prove that what happened to them at the same time.
I agree. This case just has everything.
It does. It does. It really does. So I don't actually think that the kid that they just put on the stand really helped or hurt anybody. I think it was I think the only thing that he did for reals for this case was to prove that he's the one that gave Chandler the gun, and that he was not there when he was not in the state of Wisconsin when Krista and Balt Halderson were murdered, and that's about it.
Right. I think that's
So,
what they were trying to
yeah.
prove. And I remembered who was next. His ex-girlfriend and his old roommate.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And a cop. But
Okay.
they're like really, really short. They don't
Oh, okay. They
have
don't
much
have.
to say.
Okay. Well, then I guess what we'll do
But his
is.
ex-girlfriend looks pissed.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, Kat said that they were dating for 2 years. So if you have
And she said 21.
Oh.
She said 2021 she dated him. I caught that too. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, damn.
Huh.
But I
Interesting.
read on a Reddit thread that he got kicked out of his roommate's house because
Oh, yeah.
he wanted them to cover for him cheating on his girlfriend, and they wouldn't do it.
Oh. Huh. Well.
My false pregnancy lady just walked into the room, so you might hear her cry.
Oh, yeah, we heard her.
She has a watermelon baby this time.
Oh, poor baby. Well, I think we should probably we're at 3 hours now, so I think we should probably end it. And we'll come back tomorrow night and we will go over the forensic anthropologist testimony. And if anybody, and if anything is, anybody else tomorrow that they put on is like popping, we'll definitely cover that too. But I think we should maybe start a little earlier. Maybe.
I agree. I'm off tomorrow too. Have you watched the forensic pathologist? Or no?
Yes, anthropologist.
Anthropologist.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Shmita. Thank you to the chat for showing up, and thank you to everybody who became a member. Thank you very much. And we will see you tomorrow.
Yes.
Bye.
Good.
Thanks, everybody. I love doing this. It's fun.
I'm glad you had fun. All right. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.